Chapter 727. Hiss! All the spikes on the demon spirit's body stood up, like an inflated porcupine. This demon spirit's cultivation was much higher than Lu Bai's. When Lin Muyu made her move, she had already sensed the sudden burst of power within this young man's body. It had simply reached an extremely frightening realm, an extremely frightening realm. The demon spirit's body started to burn, and its strength quickly rose to its peak. It waved its sharp claws and charged towards Lin Muyu. Was it trying to fight with its life on the line? However, how could Lin Muyu give it such a chance? In the 5 elements, water can subdue fire. As her body moved, she raised her fist, and streams of law of ice quickly gathered. Her fist instantly became the center of a spinning force field, and she punched towards the demon spirit's abdomen. Divine energy flashed, and the 5th-class demon spirit flew out like a ball sealed in ice, heavily falling into the grass. There was no longer any signs of life. It was killed by Lin Muyu with just one punch. It can't be, right? Lu Bai's jaw almost dropped to the ground. This is too exaggerated. Who the hell is this kid? He killed a 5th-class demon spirit with a single punch. What kind of terrifying thing is this? Even those sacred warriors or sacred martial venerables within the Empire's borders can't do such a thing, right? Both fists lightly bumped, and ice shards fell to the ground. Lin Muyu happily said, "Done." How is this possible? Lu Bai carefully came to the side of the demon spirit and said, "Young hero, did you really kill this demon spirit? It couldn't have suddenly died, right?" Lin Muyu glanced at him and walked forward. He opened his palm and pressed it on a huge rock that was as tall as 2 people. Divine energy circulated, and with a shout, the huge rock slowly split into pieces. He clapped his hands and said as if nothing had happened, "How is it? Do you still need proof? Who is your master? He's so powerful." Lu Bai's face was extremely pale, and he was even more afraid than when he encountered a demon spirit. "If I tell you my master's name, you'll probably be scared to death." "Tell me, who is it?" "My master's martial arts are astonishing, and she's proficient in the pulse-severing battle technique. Her name is Shui Ro, and people call her Little Demon. She's also a peerless beauty. Commoner, let me ask you, are you afraid?" Lin Muyu remembered that there was a very powerful girl in the game she used to play, so she made up a story. Lu Bai was overwhelmed with shock. 10,000 thoughts flashed through his mind. This Shui Ro must be an old monster with an extremely high cultivation who was tens of thousands of years old. Just the thought of her wrinkled face was enough to scare someone to death. "Young hero, what's your name?" "Just call me Young Hero. Don't ask for my name." Lin Muyu took out a handful of Jinin coins and crushed them into gold nuggets. "Lini, this is your allowance." "So much gold? Young swordsman, what are you doing?" Lu Bai's eyes lit up. Lin Muyu said, "For the next period of time, you'll travel around this celestial pole continent with me and be my guide. I won't treat you badly and I'll protect you." How could there be such a good thing in the world? Lu Bai nodded happily. Speaking of which, I'm very familiar with this continent." "All right, where do you want to travel to?" "Let's go to the Tianji Empire's imperial capital, Tianji City first. Then we'll go to the Celestial Empire and the Blackstone Empire. I want to travel around this celestial pole continent." Lin Muyu clenched her fists. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy could you win 100 battles. If she knew nothing about the celestial pole continent, the Shattered Cauldron realm was destined to suffer a great loss. After all, the disparity in strength was too great. The reason why she wanted Lu Bai to be her guide was very simple. There were too many immortal-level experts in the celestial pole continent. Any sacred martial god might be able to kill her. Therefore, it was best to keep a low profile and act cautiously. Lin Muyu didn't plan to defeat such a strong opponent in the celestial pole continent purely by force. She could only rely on intelligence. "Okay, I'll do as you say. Don't talk so much. Go buy 2 fast horses first and find an inn to rest at night. We'll set off tomorrow and travel all the way to Tianji City." "Yes, young hero." Lu Bai bowed and weighed the gold nugget in his hand. It weighed at least half a kilogram. If he were to exchange so much gold at a gold shop, he would be able to exchange it for at least 20 small gold coins of the Tianji Empire. He would be making a fortune. At night, in an inn in Qinghuang City, Lin Mu opened a small window and looked at the faint moonlight outside the window with her arms as a pillow. It had been a few days since she left the empire. She could be considered to have a slight understanding of the celestial pole continent. However, the more she knew about the celestial pole continent, the more worried she was about the Qin Empire in the Shattered Cauldron realm. The empire's current strength was definitely not a match for the celestial pole continent. In fact, it couldn't even defeat the Tianji Empire. He licked his somewhat dry lips and slowly released his spiritual perception. A strand of psyche power traversed through space and headed straight for the Shattered Cauldron realm. He had to warn the people of the Shattered Cauldron realm to act cautiously. In Tongtian Gorge, next to the central military tent of the Longdan army camp, in Tang Xiaoxi's tent, the candlelight swayed gently. Tang Xiaoxi, who was sitting by the bed and cultivating, suddenly felt a jolt in her heart. A familiar psyche power had awakened her. Closing her eyes, Tang Xiaoxi could immediately see Lin Muyu's appearance. She couldn't help but ask, "Mu, you've been in the celestial pole continent for so many days. How is it going?" "I'm fine. Don't worry, Xiaoxi." Lin Muyu chuckled. "You're still talking about it? I miss you so much." "I miss you too, but I have something more important to tell you now. It's about everything about the celestial pole continent." "And tell me." Thus, Lin Muyu told Tang Xiaoxi everything she knew. Hearing that, Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful face turned pale. Originally, she only thought that the celestial pole continent in the east was stronger, but now she knew that this celestial pole continent was ridiculously strong. Tang Xiaoxi frowned slightly and said worriedly, "Then what should we do? What else can we do?" "Counter soldiers with arms and water with an earth weir." Lin Muyu said, "You have to use the fastest speed to send a letter to Big Brother Feng and Ayen. Inform the entire Lingnan and Lanyan city and all the major provinces to transfer elite troops to the 4 provinces facing the sea to set up defenses. In addition, let the empire's shipyards build warships with all their might. If the 3 empires invade our borders, we have to stop them at the east of the coast. My psyche power to send a message consumes too much energy and the distance is too far, so I'll have to rely on you." "Don't worry," Tang Xiaoxi said obediently, "my psyche power is enough to send a message to Feng Jixing, and then let Feng Jixing send a message to Qin Yan. And don't make it public first. All the military deployments and movements must be carried out in secret. We can't be in a mess before the war starts in the celestial pole continent, understand?" "I understand. Don't worry, Mu. Also, you're in the celestial pole continent. There are so many Saint Martial gods and Saint Martial kings, and every one of them can defeat you. You have to be careful. Once Wei Chao's battle with the demon race at the Tongtian Gorge ends, I'll immediately go to the celestial pole continent to find you. Don't worry, I'll gather information here. You have to guard the empire. Right now, you and Ouyang Yen have the highest cultivation in the empire, so you must guard there and wait for me to return. Then come back early. Don't worry, I'll naturally leave after I understand this place well enough. I also know that this place is very dangerous." Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but laugh. "You're still in the mood to joke? All right, maintaining psyche power consumes too much divine power. Quickly retract your psyche power. I'll tell everything to Feng Jixing and Qin Yan in a while." When Lin Muyu's psyche power dispersed, the illusion in front of Tang Xiaoxi immediately dissipated and was replaced by Ouyang Yan's charming face. "It's Lin Muyu's psyche power? What did she say?" "Some fatal things." Tang Xiaoxi took another look at Ouyang Yan and said, "Ouyang, if we're on the losing side in the future war, will you still serve the Qin Empire?" Ouyang Yan was stunned, then she puffed out her chest and said with a smile, "What kind of person does Princess she think I, Ouyang Yan, am? Since I've decided to serve the Qin Empire, I'll naturally protect it with my life. Moreover, I owe His Highness a life. He gave me a new lease of life. This kindness is worth me, Ouyang Yan, to repay with my life." There's no need for you to repay kindness. Tang Xiaoxi smiled faintly and said, however, this continent is indeed plagued with disasters. I originally thought that after the Fiend race and Iha country were destroyed, it would usher in a period of peace and prosperity, but I didn't expect. Oh right, Oh Yang, has Chu returned yet? He came back once and went out again. Chu said that he sensed the invasion of power from the east, so he decided to head to the celestial pole continent to take a look. Perhaps he can even meet His Highness Yu. How can there be such a coincidence? Tang Xiaoxi pouted and said, I'm going to exert my power. Help me guard. Yes, eldest miss. Tianji City, the most prosperous city in the entire Tianji Empire, and also the capital of the empire. This crowded capital was located in the north of the empire's territory, but it had a thriving population with strong soldiers and horses. Tianji Palace, the center of the entire Tianji City, was also the residence of the royal North Deep clan. Tianji Palace's luxury was well known throughout the entire celestial pole continent. It was said that the tiles used in Tianji Palace were glazed tiles, and the anti-slip particles on the floor tiles were actually white diamonds. Moreover, the beams of the entire main hall were built with the bones of an ancient divine dragon. It was very strong and had the dragon power to protect the main hall from the impact of power. In the main hall, there were many officials. On the throne, a middle-aged expert wearing a dragon robe sat there with his eyes shining. He was Baiming Yuan, an ultimate god. Although an ultimate god was not rare in the Tianji Empire, it was not easy for an emperor to become an ultimate god. Baiming Yuan had been on the throne for many years and kept a low profile. It was also because of his existence that the other two empires did not dare to covet the territory of the Tianji Empire. The officials and generals were divided into two sides. The one in front of the generals was about 40 years old with 5 golden badges on his chest armor, indicating his strength level, martial saint. Baiming Huan, Baiming Yuan's younger brother, was the empire's marshal and a martial saint. He was second to none in the empire. His scarlet palm technique could be said to be invincible in the world. Your Majesty, Baiming Huan said respectfully, Dragon Rider Su Chuan is back. He has hunted a Demon King-level demon spirit. All right, summon him. Chapter 728. Dong, Dong, Dong. Su Chuan walked into the palace with his head held high. In terms of status and experience, he was one of the few in the Tianji Empire. There were a total of 5 sacred martial kings in the Tianji Empire, and 2 of them served the empire. One was Baiming Huan, and the other was General Zhang Cheng. The other 3 sacred martial kings cultivated in the Tianji sect and were not under the empire's control. Next were the 11 sacred martial kings, and most of them cultivated in the Tianji sect. There were only 4 sacred martial kings in the empire, and Su Chuan was one of them. Thank you for your hard work, Dragon Rider Su Chuan. Baiming Yuan held onto the golden lion head on the throne. His face had a gratified expression as he smiled and said, Did you bring the corpse of that Demon King-level demon spirit? Su Chuan turned his head, grabbed the demon spirit's corpse from the hands of his subordinates and threw it on the red carpet. He smiled and said, In order to kill this demon king, my dragon mount suffered quite a bit of injury. It really suffered. Baiming Abyss laughed heartily. You've worked hard. Men, come and heavily reward Sir Dragon Rider Su Chuan. Bestow him with 500 caddies of gold and 500 caddies of silver. In addition, bestow him with the title of a second-class lord and 500 hectares of land. Thank you, Your Majesty. Su Chuan bowed. Although the Tianji Dragon Riders were directly under Baiming Abyss's command, they were not part of the empire's military. Instead, they were a group of independent people. That was why Su Chuan's rank was only that of a dragon rider, and he did not hold any position within the empire. As for titles like Lord, and so on, those were just empty titles. What Su Chuan cared about was the gold, silver, and jewels that Baiming Abyss gave him. Even though he was a Saint Martial King, he still needed to live a luxurious life after entering the secular world to cultivate. Su Chuan owned a luxurious mansion that was worth 10 million gold coins in Tianji City. There were 500 guards and over 30 beauties in the mansion. If he didn't have these gold and silver rewards, it would probably be difficult for him to continue living such an immortal-like life. Su Chuan knelt on one knee and said, "Your Majesty, did the tongue we caught a few days ago confess anything?" Bai Minghuan said, "Bai Minghuan, tell me." Bai Minghuan nodded respectfully. "Dragon Rider Su Chuan, soon, the Empire will face a new war, and our opponent will be a continent on the other side of the ocean." That tongue seemed to have confessed everything. A month ago, the great battle in the divine realm officially ended. Lord Shi Yen Blazing Angel accidentally damaged the Wall of Order during the intense battle with the gods of the eastern celestial heavens, causing the spiritual mountains of the two planes to collide and merge with each other. This caused the wall between our plane's plane and the Shattered Cauldron Realm's plane to officially disappear. Now that the two continents have completely merged, a new war is about to arrive. Su Chuan was dazed. Shattered Cauldron Realm, what kind of continent is that? Bai Minghuan smiled and said, "Don't worry, the Broken Cauldron world is still in the embryonic stage, and its power is far inferior to ours. The most powerful god in the Broken Cauldron world is only a god king who is in the 30th heavenly abode, and their weapons, and horses are all far inferior to ours. But the Broken Cauldron world is fertile, and the population is thriving. The spirit beasts in the forest are also quite famous, and their spirit cores can be used for our cultivation. So, as long as we take the Broken Cauldron world as our own, the Tianji Empire will definitely be able to develop in 100 years, and then destroy the Heavenju Empire and the Dark Stone Empire, and unify the whole world. When do we leave?" Su Chuan was a bit excited. "We have to act before the Celestial Empire and the Blackstone Empire find out. We can't let others get this fat meat first." "Hey, don't be in such a hurry." Bai Minghuan waved his hand and smiled. "Recently, I have been deploying troops at the border. We have to stabilize the border first before we can send some troops to conquer Shattered Cauldron Realm. In addition, I have also sent envoys to the two empires to ask for an alliance. Only with an alliance can we focus on attacking Shattered Cauldron Realm." "Yes, I will listen to Marshall's orders." That's good, huh? Shattered Cauldron Realm will be ours sooner or later, no need to rush." The night was indescribably cold. The night of the exile land was full of slaughter, and one could even hear miserable cries from afar. No one knew which unlucky soul had died under a sharp blade. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The girl was kneeling in the grass with bare feet. There was a kind of black crawling bug in this patch of grass. Although this bug didn't bite, it was very disgusting when it moved. This demon spirit girl's arms and hair were almost covered with these bugs, but she didn't move at all, like a withered leaf hidden in the grass. She had been waiting here for a whole day, but the hunter from hell still hadn't appeared. She clearly remembered the battle 2 days ago. That hunter in black armor had almost cut off his own arm with a single sword strike. Moreover, this dark hunter's movements were getting more and more frequent. All signs showed that he was eager to rule this area and didn't want to let any of his opponents live. Never be bullied by others. These were her father's words. Although her father had died a long time ago, the young girl still remembered these words. These words were the law of her life in the banished lands. If anyone wanted to kill her, she must kill them first. Rustle, a strange sound came. It didn't sound like the sound of a pine insect crawling over the grass, but was completely different. It was the sound of boots stepping on the wet grass. It had rained half a day ago, and the ground was still wet. The girl didn't move, but her pair of beautiful eyes quietly looked into the distance. With the sound of footsteps, he had arrived. The black soft armor was decorated with resplendent diamonds, blinding people's eyes. The black helmet looked so exquisite. A steel sword hung from his waist, and his palm was pressed on the sword hilt. He looked around with a sharp gaze, searching for his opponent. The cold night wind blew, making the long hair behind his helmet and trench coat flutter. He had always been like this, pursuing the pinnacle of handsomeness, a man like the wind. "Come out." He suddenly stopped, and his gaze was like a sword as he looked at the grass in front of him. Silence. He seemed to be a little impatient. He raised his hand, and a ball of fire appeared. He shouted in a low voice, "Come out! Do you want me to personally invite you out? You're courting death." The flames swallowed the entire field of wild grass, and suddenly there was a roar. It was a ferocious tiger from the exile land, the horned tiger. It was a fierce tiger with a sharp horn on its head, and it was at the top of the food chain in the exile land. There weren't many people who dared to provoke the horned tiger, and this man in front of him was one of them. "Bastard, how dare you ambush me? You're courting death." He attacked. His fist was wrapped in flames, and he smashed it heavily on the horned tiger's abdomen from a strange angle. However, a tyrannical rebounding force attacked him. The horned tiger's skin was covered with stellar energy, and just as he was about to fall, the horned tiger flipped its sharp claws and swept them horizontally. A few bloody wounds immediately appeared on his shoulder. Damn it. He took the opportunity to pull out his sword. The blade was wrapped in a ball of fire, a ball of golden light. This was a cultivator of the law of fire and light. The temperature and light of the spewing flames converged. He launched a fierce attack, and his whole body melted into the sword light. Blood splattered in the wind. When he pulled out his sword, the horned tiger could no longer resist. The messy sword wounds and holes on its body proved that the horned tiger was defeated. Roar! Amidst the miserable howl, the steel sword pierced straight into the horned tiger's mouth and came out through its brain, carrying with it a strong smell of blood. He raised his palm and licked clean the tiger blood that had splattered on his palm. Filthy trash. But at this moment, a shadow passed by him, as silent as the wind. Rip! The sound was very light. It was a sharp knife, shining with a frightening cold light. After the knife light, a thin wound spread out from his neck. With a "pew" sound, it completely bloomed, like a beautiful flower. Blood spurted out from his neck. He stood there dumbfounded, the sword in his hand still stabbed into the horned tiger's head. He raised his head, looking at the stars in the sky. His hair and cloak fluttered in the wind. A man like the wind. Bang! After heavily falling to the ground, he died in humiliation. The sword in his hand was pulled out from the horned tiger's mouth. It was covered in blood, but under the moonlight, it shone with a demonic luster, as if it was responding to the light in the sky. The demon spirit girl slowly walked over with the bloody knife. Looking at her opponent's corpse, her face was emotionless. She didn't even feel the joy of victory. She only felt that everything was as it should be. Bending down, she picked up her opponent's sword. The moment the blade touched her hand, she suddenly froze. A vigorous and overbearing power seemed to be resonating with the sword in her body. Shwa! The power in her arm flowed into the sword. In the next moment, golden crystals separated from the power and rapidly spun. What is this? She was dumbfounded. She never thought that she would have a connection with a weapon. Moreover, these flying golden crystals were a type of pure energy crystal. But what was it? "Who am I?" she muttered to herself, but the chilling night wind of the banished lands answered her rampantly. Woo, she couldn't understand. This paragraph was so poetic that even I was moved. Knock, knock, knock. Violent knocks came from outside the inn's door. "Open the door, open the door. If you don't open the door, we will break it down." Lin Muyu woke up from his sleep. The divine power that he had used to transmit the message through his telekinesis last night was fully replenished. He floated up and opened the door to his room, only to see 7 to 8 armored soldiers staring at him. One of the soldiers was holding Lu Bai in his hands. The poor Lu Bai was already tied up. "What is it?" Lin Muyu was so calm that it was exaggerated. "What?" An officer wearing a 10-man military rank smiled and said, "Are you a noble? Do you have any friends who are nobles? Then do you have money? I am poor. Then congratulations, you have been conscripted by the Imperial Army in the West Mountain Province as a first-class private. Don't say anything. You will naturally understand your status when you reach the military camp." Lin Muyu narrowed her eyes. Damn, they are grabbing a strong man. Chapter 729. Lin Muyu's hands were tied behind her back. Fortunately, she had already put the star's sword into her cosmos bag, and the cosmos bag was hidden in her bosom, so these soldiers of the Tianji Empire did not find it. However, Lu Bai, who was standing beside her, had a bitter look on his face. He muttered in a low voice, "Young hero, I don't believe that you will give up without a fight. With your strength, you definitely won't be afraid of these soldiers who bully the weak and fear the strong. What do you know? They have knives in their hands." Lin Muyu snickered. In fact, she just wanted to go to the military camp of the Tianji Empire to see their fighting capacity. As for getting out of here, Lin Muyu could easily do it at any time. On the path in the jungle, there were dozens of people who had been captured as new recruits like Lin Muyu and Lu Bai. They were escorted by nearly 50 soldiers of the Tianji Empire. Lin Muyu looked at the equipment of these soldiers, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Only 10-man sergeants were qualified to wear armor, and their armor was relatively inferior. The armor was rusty, and most of them could not withstand the full thrust of the long spear. Ordinary soldiers did not wear armor at all. They only wore dirty cotton military uniforms, which made them look like a group of ruffians. In fact, these people were indeed the lowest soldiers in the army. Otherwise, they would not have been sent to do this kind of work. Walking all the way until noon, the group arrived at a place about 20 li north of Jianghu city. From afar, a military camp built on the side of a mountain could be seen. Lin Muyu could tell with a single glance that this military camp could accommodate about 5,000 people. It was not a small camp, but it was most likely a new recruit camp. From afar, they could hear the sounds of new recruits training. Their voices were mixed, and they were definitely not veterans who had gone through hundreds of battles. Lu Bai complained incessantly. In a low voice, he said, "I've had many plans in my life. I've wanted to be an erudite and knowledgeable prophet. I've wanted to be an omniscient fortune-teller. I've also wanted to be a noble and have many wives and concubines, but I've never wanted to be a soldier. If a good man wants to be a soldier, what are you afraid of?" Lin Muyu smiled and comforted him. Lu Bai felt even more uncomfortable. Who was willing to be a soldier these days? Their pay was deducted too much, and their lives were in danger at any time. No one was willing to be a soldier. Otherwise, the situation wouldn't have developed to such an exaggerated extent as catching able-bodied men. "Stop looking around and go in," an old soldier shouted loudly. He raised his whip and landed it heavily on a young man. The young man looked to be about 15 years old. He grimaced in pain, but he didn't dare to say a word. The dozens of able-bodied men were all brought to a corner of the military camp. After they stood still, the curtain of a tent in the distance was lifted, and a man with 2 silver triangular military insignia on his chest walked out. His face was full of beard, and his voice was like muffled thunder exploding, "All of you shut up if you don't want to die." Everyone was horrified and didn't dare to speak. The bearded general sneered. He looked at the group of new soldiers in front of him as if he was looking at a group of bugs, and said, "You're all a bunch of trash. Do you know how much military rations are needed to feed you into real soldiers? If you want to become soldiers like me who protect His Majesty the Sacred Emperor and the Tianji Empire, you must not fear death or pain. You must become stronger as soon as possible." In the crowd, a thin man immediately knelt down and begged for mercy. "Sir, I'm just a peddler in Jianghu city. I didn't think of becoming a soldier. I have parents and children to take care of. Please let me go, sir." "You trash." The bearded general suddenly raised his hand, and a fist shadow exploded in the air. With a bang, the peddler vomited blood and fainted. Everyone was immediately scared out of their wits, and they were all dumbfounded. Lin Muyu secretly took a breath. This officer didn't wear a general's insignia, and was only a small officer. However, the power of his punch just now was as strong as the 3rd layer of the heaven realm. The celestial pole continent was indeed full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. The overall level of cultivation was more than a level higher than that of the empire. "You have no way out." The bearded general narrowed his eyes at the crowd, and said, "You're walking on a single-plank bridge. In front of you are the glorious soldiers of the empire, and behind you is the road to death. Make your own choice. Do you choose to become a tough and strong soldier who has been tempered by wind and rain, or do you choose to be a coward, a piece of trash who will die in humiliation in a cesspool? Everyone was silent. The general continued, I know that many of you are unconvinced, but let me tell you this. If it wasn't for the fact that the Empire's army needs people, they wouldn't have captured you at all, because you're not qualified. His eyes were filled with a sneer. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Chen Dongyang, and I belong to the West Mountain Province's army on duty. My military rank is 2nd rank, and I lead 1,000 people. From now on, you're a member of my 1,000-man army. However, I'll say the ugly words first. If you can't become a soldier, you'll become a dead man. So, please do your best. In the afternoon, I'll give you weapons and uniforms. I hope you don't disappoint me. Everyone was aghast. Who dared to say another word? Lin Muyu and Lu Bai were arranged to stay in the same tent. It was a very crude tent that was riddled with holes. The ground was covered with weeds, and that was the recruit's bed. The 10-man squad leader behind him scolded in a low voice, Stop looking, pick your own bed, and then follow me to get the supplies. Lu Bai looked at Lin Muyu, and Lin Muyu signaled him not to do anything. Sooner or later, she would bring him away from this place. As expected, the weapons were very crude. Lin Muyu received a long halberd. The tip of the long halberd was almost rusted through, and the blade and the handle were only wrapped with a few pieces of torn cotton cloth. It was hard to imagine what this kind of weapon would be used for on the battlefield. However, the military uniform was new, but it was a little too small, and it looked a little ridiculous on her. After receiving the weapons, the recruit training began in the afternoon. The first training was to cooperate with the team to attack. This surprised Lin Muyu a little. Although the equipment of the Tianji Empire looked crude, the tactical training was very strict, and orders were strictly followed. The military training of the instructors was very good. In the evening, it was a weight-bearing training. A group of recruits carried their weapons and walked around the mountains. Behind them were instructors riding on horses and waving leather whips. Those who fell behind could not avoid physical pain. Fortunately, with Lin Muyu's help, Lu Bai did not suffer much. At sunset, 500 recruits came to the entrance of the valley. However, they heard a rumbling sound coming from afar. What's wrong? Lu Bai stopped and touched his neck. It had been scratched by the handle of the long halberd. Several instructors also stopped involuntarily. On the horizon, the rumbling sound was getting closer and closer. Soon, a group of cavalries appeared on the other side of the valley. It was a group of cavalries riding on wild beasts. Moreover, it was a group of armored tigers. However, these tigers seemed to be different from the ones Lin Muyu had seen before. Their backs were very flat, and they were suitable for riding. The cavalrymen on the back of the ferocious tigers were clad in armor. Their helmets shone with a golden radiance under the setting sun. Between the gaps of their helmets, pairs of ruthless gazes swept across the bodies of the new recruits. They didn't stop at all. What is that? The recruits were stunned. Not only the recruits, but even the instructors looked envious. It was obvious that their status could not be compared with this kind of cavalry's. Stop looking, one of the instructors said angrily. It's the tiger leopard cavalry, one of the branches of the Empire's cavalries. Only the children of nobles have the opportunity to enter the cavalries to receive training. However, you guys, as long as you make great contributions on the battlefield, you will also have the same opportunity. Stop being envious. Let's go. Yes, sir. The recruits already knew how to talk to their superior officers. After dinner, Lu Bai was so tired that he could barely move. He lay on the meadow, motionless, as if he was dead. Lin Muyu pushed his arm. Plain clothes. Let me sleep for a while more. You don't want to go? Lin Muyu asked with a smile. Can we go? Why can't I? Under the moonlight, the two of them left the military camp along a small mountain path. After walking for a short distance, they suddenly heard a rustling sound from the bushes in the distance. Who is it? Lin Muyu shouted in a low voice. Don't be nervous, it's us. A few people who looked like recruits stood up from the bushes. They were also recruits who had trained with them during the day. It seemed like they were also deserters. So they ran together. However, after leaving the camp for less than 2 miles, the sound of hooves came from behind. Torches flickered, and a voice shouted in the wind, "All of you stop, you scum!" It was the voice of second-rank Tiger Lieutenant Qin Dongyang. "Run!" No one knew who shouted, but the crowd began to scatter in all directions. The warhorses were very fast. In the darkness of the night, there were about 10 cavalrymen galloping towards them. Chen Dongyang held his shining longsword and galloped at the front. He raised his sword and slashed at the back of a deserter. Blood splattered everywhere. The poor recruit was almost cut in half. "It's over, this demon." Lu Bai was shocked. "You go, I will block him. Run as fast as you can, and I will catch up to you," Lin Muyu said in a low voice. "Okay." Lu Bai didn't even look back as he ran. Lin Muyu turned around and flew over. "A deserter like you dares to turn back and seek death?" Chen Dongyang roared. He raised his bloody longsword and slashed at Lin Muyu. The longsword was enshrouded with fighting energy, and it turned into a bolt of lightning. It was extremely fast. However, Lin Muyu was even faster. She flashed past at a speed that the naked eye could not follow, dodging the attack of the longsword. Her fist was imbued with half of her divine power as she punched Chen Dongyang's abdomen. Bang! Golden light burst out, and Chen Dongyang spat out a mouthful of blood. He fell off his horse and rolled on the ground like a cannonball. He looked very embarrassed. "This bastard, he wants to kill General Chen." A group of cavalries galloped over and threw their spears. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. With a light shake of her arms, a huge invisible wall immediately formed in front of her. Dang, dang, dang. The spears were all knocked away. She raised her fist and swept out with half of the power of chaos of the lives. Instantly, a strong gust of wind blew and a golden shockwave rippled out, causing a group of riders and their horses to tumble and tumble away. Heavens, this brat is a holy martial venerable. Chen Dongyang wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. "Stop the attack and retreat. Come and help me, my ribs are all broken." Chapter 730. In the spring of the Xishan province, the birds were singing and the flowers were fragrant. A bonfire was burning, and a rabbit was being roasted above it. The aroma of the meat had begun to spread. Lu Bai kept turning the stick, and he was sweating profusely. Lin Muyu was lying on the grass with her arms as a pillow. She murmured to herself, "Tianji Dragon Cavalry, Beast Cavalry, Tiger Leopard Cavalry, young hero, what are you doing? Get up and eat." Lin Muyu took a rabbit leg and took a few bites. But she was preoccupied and didn't have the appetite. She asked, "Bai, how many beast cavalrymen are there in the Tianji Empire?" "It said that there are more than 30,000 beast cavalrymen. I've only heard of them before, but I've finally seen them." "Awesome. Awesome." I was scared to death. Lu Bai was speechless. Even Lin Muyu was shocked by the power of the beast cavalrymen, let alone an ordinary person like Lu Bai. "More than 30,000? Lin Muyu murmured. She had a new understanding of the military strength of the Tianji Empire. If they really fought, the Qin Empire would be defeated. In the sky, an eagle was circling. Lin Muyu frowned. "What's that?" This eagle was a bit strange. Its head didn't look like a bird's, but like a wolf's head. "It's just a hunting eagle. What's so strange about it?" Lu Bai lowered his head and gnawed on the rabbit. He didn't even want to look up. But soon, another sound echoed in the air. Honk, honk. Dragon roar. On the other side of the hill, 2 behemoths flapped their giant wings and appeared in the sky. They were 2 dragon cavalrymen. Suddenly, Lu Bai was so scared that he dropped the rabbit in his hand. He took a few steps back and said, "Oh my God, dragon cavalrymen found us." The 2 of them were still wearing the military uniforms of the Tianji Empire's recruits, which could be seen at a glance. "Bai, go back as far as possible. Don't come over," Lin Muyu said lightly. "Well, be careful." Lu Bai ran away. Roar. One of the 2 dragons was blue and the other red, but their heads were equally ferocious. They stared at Lin Muyu with the eyes of wild beasts. In fact, the dragon race was originally a wild beast, just a beast in the food chain. On the dragon's back, half of the dragon rider's face was covered by a blue helmet, but his gaze was like a sharp sword that made one's heart go cold. In his hands was a spear that had frost swirling around it. It's you two who escaped from West Mountain Province's main camp, right? You two deserters escaped from the Shishan Province camp, right? Lin Muyu didn't deny it. Instead, she asked, "How did you find us?" "That's the only thing I'm curious about." The dragon cavalryman laughed. His teeth were very white. He pointed the dragon's spear at the eagle circling in the sky and said, "Do you see that? That's a wolf falcon, a wolf that can fly. Its sense of smell is more than 10 times that of a wolf's. Even if you two fly into the sky or dive into the ground, we can still find you. So now, what do you want?" Lin Muyu pulled out the stellar sword from her Qiankuan bag. The sword flashed, and the dragon cavalryman was slightly stunned. He could feel the sword's sharpness. However, the shock only lasted for a moment. The dragon cavalryman's confidence wouldn't waver. He squinted his eyes and said, "Nothing much. As a member of the Tianji Dragon Cavalry, I did what I had to do. I just sent you two to the Empire's military law office to receive the punishment that deserters deserve. Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't try to resist. Any accidental deaths during the Tianji Dragon Cavalry's mission can be pardoned." "Accidental deaths?" Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. She said, "You're dreaming. You actually want to kill me? Tell me, what are your names?" "I don't want to kill you, and I still don't know your names." "Impudent. Arrogant." The two dragon riders roared together. However, they were obviously nobles, and they still maintained the self-restraint that nobles should have. They lowered their dragon spears and said, "Junior Dragon Cavalryman, Li Ku. Second-ranked Dragon Cavalryman, Hu Yin." "All right, let's do it." Lin Muyu stood majestically on the grass and looked at the sky indifferently. Li Ku was at the Divine Heaven Realm, and Hu Yin was at the Divine Sovereign Realm. What worried Lin Muyu was how much their battle power would increase after becoming one with the dragon. However, what made Lin Muyu excited was that she actually had the chance to fight a dragon cavalryman here. This was too rare of an opportunity, and it was also a great chance to understand a dragon cavalryman. Arrogant to the extreme, Li Ku roared angrily and urged the dragon to pounce. He raised his long sword, and a fiery light shot into the sky. His attack was indeed extraordinary. Moreover, before the sword energy even landed, a formless aura shrouded everyone, making them feel suffocated. Moreover, the power of this sword actually contained very pure dragon power. Buzz. The golden wall of the gourd appeared in front of Lin Muyu, and with a bang, light surged. The dragon scale wall blocked Li Ku's attack. After all, there was a large disparity in strength between the two. HM? Li Ku and his dragon were blown back by the surging cyclone, and he couldn't help but show a look of surprise on his face. A powerful feeling of shock came from the dragon sword. The opponent's seemingly very simple defensive wall was actually ridiculously strong. How is this possible? Li Ku frowned. Clear Desolation City was just an unremarkable small city in the West Mountain Province. How could there be a strong person who could fight against a dragon cavalryman? This brat didn't look like someone that powerful. He looked more like a pretty boy kept by a rich woman in the city. This was simply too unbelievable. Me. Hu Yin roared and attacked from the other side of Lin Muyu. His dragon spear stabbed down, and layers of frost lingered around it. Layers of frost waves instantly formed a tornado that wrapped around Lin Muyu. At the same time, the blue dragon opened its mouth and spat out an ice dragon breath. Rustle, rustle. The surrounding grass was instantly covered in frost, but the frost dragon breath burst forth in the next moment. A perfect gourd wall defense appeared around Lin Muyu's body. The dragon blood battle shield blocked all of Hu Yin's attacks. The battle shield pulsated with the waves of divinity, a total of 15 layers. Immediately, Lin Muyu couldn't help but secretly laugh. She already knew what was going to happen. Pa! When the two dragon cavalrymen looked again, Lin Muyu had already disappeared. The cyclone flowed back, and the tender grass swayed. Where is she? Hu Yin was shocked and quickly focused his senses. His heart turned cold. Above, in the dazzling sunlight, a figure with rapidly spinning flames flew down. It was Lin Muyu's Chaos of the Lives attack with the astral sword, full power. Hu Yin didn't have time to dodge and could only block with his dragon spear. Bang! A huge golden light exploded, and layers of waves covered the sky and covered the earth. The impact caused Hu Yin's perlicue to immediately bleed. The impact of the 21 waves was so strong that Hu Yin almost couldn't even hold his dragon spear. His body leaned back, and just as he was about to lose his defense from Lin Muyu's attack, the blue dragon suddenly roared. Light blue air currents appeared around its body and stabilized its master's body. What is this? Lin Muyu frowned and didn't say anything. In a flash, she attacked with her sword 4 times in a row. From the second element to the 5th element, the layers of power stacked together. How could Hu Yin block it? With a cry, he spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground with the giant dragon. Bang! The giant dragon howled and fell to the ground, sending soil and grass flying into the sky. Not far away, Lu Bai, who was hiding behind a huge rock and watching from afar, was so shocked that his soul almost left his body. Who is this kid? He actually defeated a dragon knight with just a few simple attacks? Moreover, it was a Saint Martial Venerable level dragon knight. That was a god. Lord Hu Yin, are you okay? Li Ke's face was full of shock. Hu Yin's voice came from the mess. I'm fine. I'm fine. Li Ke, you have to be careful. This person is very strong, very strong. He used the word very strong to describe Lin Muyu's strength, but it was clearly not enough. Li Ke held the dragon sword and gritted his teeth. For you, a person who travels the world. Lin Muyu casually replied. But you just had to find trouble with me. How about it, Lord Li Ke? Do you still want to fight it out with me? Li Ke's voice was slightly trembling. Hu Yin was his superior. Li Ke naturally knew how strong this dragon knight was. He had sparred with Hu Yin before, and Hu Yin could subdue him within 20 moves. But just now, Hu Yin was injured in just 5 moves. How could Li Ke be a match for him? Seeing that Li Ke didn't say anything, Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She pointed the star's sword at her opponent and said, "Then there's no need to fight. Remember, don't follow us anymore. Otherwise, I'll kill everyone I see." Li Ke was silent. As a revered dragon knight, he actually lost so miserably. Luckily, there wasn't anyone else here. Otherwise, he wouldn't know where he could hide his face. Lin Muyu flew with the wind and landed on the ground. "Let's go, Bai." Lu Bai was dumbfounded. "You were flying just now? Why, is it very strange?" "No, it's not strange." Although he said that, Lu Bai's eyes were clearly filled with "You're awesome." "Lord Hu Yin." Li Ke flipped over and jumped down from the dragon's back. He went to help the heavily injured Hu Yin. Hu Yin's arms were covered in blood. His blood vessels were bleeding from the shock. One could imagine how powerful Lin Muyu's 5 consecutive sword attacks were. Cough, cough, Hu Yin coughed and blood gushed out of his mouth. He lay on the dragon's wings in a sorry state. 21st layer. What 21st layer? This kid is a Saint Martial Venerable at the 21st layer of the Grotto Heaven. Oh my god, Li Ke was shocked. Aren't all the Saint Martial Venerables in the Empire on the list? I've never seen such a person before. He might be an unworldly expert who cultivates in the mountains. Quickly report this to Lord Dragon Knight. Okay. Chapter 731. The bell rang a total of 24 times. It was silent in Zetian Palace Hall, and all the officials knelt on the ground. This was a way to cherish the memory of Empress Qin Yin. In year 7736 of the Empire calendar, Empress Qin Yin had died in the blood-red abyss. 4 years had passed, but everyone knew that on the day Qin Yin had died, she had just turned 24 years old. Even though the 3 kings were ruling the world now, everyone still believed that Qin Yin would return. This was because she was the legitimate heir of the Qin clan, and she was also the only person in the imperial family who possessed the divine essence. After the bell rang, Shengguan Jingyue, who was wearing the robes of the chief female official, walked forward and extended her hand, saying, "Sirs, please rise." Everyone stood up one after another, and when they raised their heads, they saw Qin Yan and Feng Jixing standing side by side in front of the throne. No one sat down. Ever since the three kings had ruled the world, none of them had coveted this throne. Lin Muyu had always believed that she would be able to find Qin Yin. How could Feng Jixing and Qin Yan not believe this as well? His Highness Yu has sent news from the other side of the ocean. Feng Jixing's voice was low, but he said very steadily, "There's another continent on the other side of the East Sea. The two planes have completely merged, and the world on the other side is called the Celestial Pole. It's ruled by three great empires, namely the Tianji Empire, the Celestial Empire, and the Blackstone Empire. The Celestial Pole is a place where martial arts are prevalent, and their strength far surpasses our Shattered Cauldron realm. Now that Duke Wei Weiqiu is leading the Longdan army camp to defeat the Devil Race at the Heavenly Gorge, the Empire should shift its focus from the Devil Race and Iha country to the opponent on the other side of the ocean." The officials were all astonished. Some of them had heard some rumors and knew that there was another world on the other side of the Eastern Sea region, but most of them knew nothing about the Celestial Pole. An elderly minister took a step forward, holding a jade tablet in his hand as he said respectfully, "Your Highness Prince Exon, this matter can't be confirmed yet. Moreover, even if there's another world on the other side of the ocean, we can send envoys over with gold, silver, and jewelry to make friends with them instead of just thinking about attacking them. The Empire has been through wars for a very long time, and its national power is not as strong as before. I hope that the two of you can empathize with the suffering of the common people in the world." Feng Jixing nodded. "What Count Yuyang said is somewhat reasonable, but we must be prepared for both sides. While befriending the Celestial Pole continent, we must also make preparations for war. There's only so much land in this world, and the three great empires of the Celestial Pole continent can't completely ignore the richness of the Shattered Cauldron realm. If we don't make preparations, we'll only become lambs waiting to be slaughtered." Count Yuyang bowed his head and said, "I only hope that your highnesses will not be overly militaristic and harm my great Qin." Qin Yan was a little displeased. He frowned and said, "We know what we're doing. Count Yuyang doesn't need to worry too much." Feng Jixing's gaze landed on Zhen Yifan, who was at the front of the ministers, and he said, "Duke Zhong, it's been hard on you to come all the way from the Seven Seas province. However, we still need Duke Zhong to come up with a plan for today's matter. How should the Empire deal with it?" However, Zhen Yifan's dim eyes shone brightly as he said, "Since the Celestial Pole continent is separated from us by the Eastern Sea, we must reorganize our navy, build new warships, and use the strength of the entire country to strengthen the defense of the three eastern provinces, Lingdong, Tongtian, and Lingkong. Other than that, we must build the magic crystal cannons with all our might. Heavy cannons will be our greatest chance of victory." Feng Jixing nodded in satisfaction. Qin Yan said, "Where's the Minister of Works?" The Minister of Works' white beard was already fluttering. He took a step forward and cupped his fists respectfully. "This old subject is here. The forging and improvement of the magic crystal cannons are mainly the matter of your weapons department. I hope that you won't slack off." "Yes, this old subject understands." At this moment, the Assistant Minister of the Weapons Department behind him said, "Your Highnesses, Lord Qin Xiling has sent us a blueprint from Tongtian province. It's about building a fortress ship." "Fortress ship?" Feng Jixing was stunned. "What kind of ship is that?" "Your Highness, the fortress ship is a new type of warship. Both sides of the warship are protected by thick parapet walls. Small magic crystal cannons can be placed in the cabin, and the parapet walls are wrapped with iron sheets to block the enemy's arrows and ballista attacks. Furthermore, the fortress ship can be divided into multiple levels. Not only is it a fortress of heavy cannons when facing the enemy, it can also be used as a transport ship. A large fortress ship can transport at least 2,000 to 4,000 soldiers of the Empire. Lord Qin Xiling's uncanny workmanship is full of wisdom, and he's an unparalleled genius craftsman. Once this kind of fortress ship is successfully developed, it will definitely become the overlord of naval battles." Good. Feng Jixing was overjoyed and waved his hand. Approved. Immediately give the order to start developing and building this kind of fortress ship. But Your Highness? The assistant minister of the weapons department nodded without saying a word. But what? It's just that the construction of the fortress ship is exquisite. Among the materials required are all kinds of strange iron and wood that are rare in the Empire. Thus, the construction of the fortress ship will cost a huge amount of money. Just tell me directly, how much does it cost to build a fortress ship? Under Feng Jixing's intense gaze, the assistant minister swallowed his saliva and said, about 300,000 Jianghu coins is needed to build a large fortress ship. 300,000? Feng Jixing jumped in fright. So expensive. It's practically a fortress made of gold. The assistant minister of the weapons department smiled bitterly. There's nothing we can do about it. According to Lord Qin Xiling's design, the entire fortress ship is about 200 meters long. Thus, the wood used to reinforce the hull must be the extremely tough golden willow wood. This golden willow wood takes 500 years to mature, and it's originally a precious material comparable to gold. If we don't use golden willow wood to reinforce the hull of the fortress, such a large fortress ship will probably fall apart in a storm. I understand. So be it. 300,000 it is. Feng Jixing looked into the distance. The Ministry of Revenue's Minister of Works will be provided by you guys for the Ministry of Works to develop the weapons. The Ministry of Revenue's Minister of Works was a fatty with a small beard on his chin that looked like a goat's beard. His face was filled with a meticulous expression as he said, Your Highness Prince Exin, a fortress ship costs 300,000 Jianghu coins. In addition to the magic crystal cannons, sailors, equipment, and so on, the cost of a fortress ship will be 500,000 Jianghu coins. There are usually 1,000 fortress ships in the Navy, and the value of 1,000 fortress ships will be 500 million Jianghu coins. The Empire has already spent 1 billion Jianghu coins on the steel walls and the magic crystal cannons. The treasury is empty, so where are we going to get the 500 million Jianghu coins? This old subject really has no other choice. If Your Highness Prince Exin insists on getting this old subject to gather 500 million Jianghu coins, then this old subject is powerless. Feng Jixing's eyes narrowed and he smiled. Lord Zhang, your son has married a concubine and built a hidden beauty pavilion in the south of the city for her, spending a total of 30 million Jianghu coins. Someone has reported this to me. I wonder if it's true? If the Ministry of Revenue is really that poor, then I should consider if I should investigate this thoroughly. Where's Xiao Han from the Fire Sparrow Division? Xiao Han stood ramrod straight and said, Here. Pass the order. Xiao Han is to immediately lead the Fire Sparrow Division's troops to the Ministry of Revenue's Minister of Works manor to investigate the matter of him embezzling resources from the National Treasury and abusing his authority for personal gain. Yes. The fatty was immediately scared silly. He quickly knelt on the ground, wiping away his snot and tears as he said, Your Highness Prince Exit, please spare my life. I, Zhang Rang, have been working conscientiously for so many years and have never abused my authority for personal gain. My son's villa is only what he got from running the Merchant Association. He has never taken any bribes. If Your Highness Prince X and doesn't trust me, this old subject is willing to bring my son to the streets to beg and help Your Highness gather the 500 million Jianghu coins. There's no need for that. Feng Jixing snickered and said, Your reputation as a miser has long spread far and wide. Otherwise, His Highness you wouldn't have personally chosen you to be the Ministry of Revenue's minister. You just need to gather the 500 million Jianghu coins and hand it over to the Ministry of Works. As for the National Treasury, you must keep a record of every single item of the Treasury's income and expenditures and submit a copy to the Zetian Palace Hall every month. You and I trust you very much and believe that you can manage the Qin Empire's National Treasury well. Don't disappoint us. Yes, this old subject understands. Feng Jixing had already made Zhang Rang obediently by using both carrots and carrots. Zhen Yifan said, According to His Highness Yu's description, There is a type of troop in the celestial pole continent called the Dragon Cavalry Troops. They are a group of warriors who ride on giant dragons and have astonishing power. If this is really the case, we must be prepared. Otherwise, we might be controlled by them at the first step. Feng Jixing nodded and said, "The dragon cavalry is indeed very troublesome, but it's very difficult for us to deal with an army in the air. Ordinary arrows are unable to penetrate dragon armor. Even if it's a white diamond arrowhead, due to the weight and speed of the arrowhead, it might not be able to penetrate dragon armor. As for the magic crystal cannons, they might not be able to accurately hit the giant dragons either." Sigh. Qin Yan looked at Feng Jixing's frown and said, "Your Highness Prince Exen, let's take it one step at a time. We haven't even seen a real dragon rider yet. It's still too early to consider how to deal with them." After all, Qin Yan was still too young. Feng Jixing let out a bitter laugh and didn't say anything. At this moment, Zheng Yifan narrowed his eyes and said, "I wonder if the two of you still remember what Duke Wei Wei Chou is best at?" Qin Yan was stunned. "Archery." "That's right." Zheng Yifan smiled faintly and said, "It's precisely archery that can shoot a willow tree from 100 steps away. With Duke Wei's ability, he can shoot an enemy from 200 meters away with a 150-kilogram strong bow. This old subject is thinking, if we can train giant warhawks and let our army's godly archers ride on giant eagles and only shoot the eyes of the dragon riders' mounts, would it be effective?" Feng Jixing was startled. "Will it work? If they ride on warhawks, not only will their bodies be unstable, but the trajectory of the arrows will also be easily affected by the strong winds in the air. If they want to shoot a small dragon's eye, I'm afraid it won't be easy. But, do we have any other way?" Zheng Yifan let out a bitter laugh. Feng Jixing was speechless and waved his hand. "It seems like that is indeed the case. Since that is the case, Duke Zhong shouldn't return to your fief in the Seven Seas province for now. Stay in the imperial capital and help the Ministry of War develop this type of warhawk godly archer." "Yes, this old subject obeys." The entire Zetian palace fell into silence once again. Everyone was thinking about different things, but after this conversation, Feng Jixing and Qin Yan had a preliminary impression and confidence of facing the enemy in the distance. Chapter 732. The Mugwort Mountain was a mountain range within the territory of the West Mountain Province. It stretched for 700 miles, almost running through the entire province. Not only did hunters and mercenaries live in the Mugwort Mountain, but there were also countless spirit beasts, demon beasts, and part of the Lanji Corps, one of the four armies of the Tianji Empire. The whole Mugwort Mountain was a complicated area and had been in turmoil for thousands of years. But because there were so many demon beasts and spirit beasts in the mountain, the emperor of the empire, Baiming Yuan, could do nothing about it. Even if he sent out the Dragon Rider Corps to wipe them out, it would be a waste of time. So, it was better to let the land run its own course. But in this way, many powerful warriors appeared. It was said that there were more than 20 Saint Martial Venerables in the Mugwort Mountain. On the south side of the Mugwort Mountain, the mountain path was difficult to walk. In the chaos, the two slowly walked on the mountain path full of thorns. "Ouch!" Lu Bai complained incessantly. He opened his water pouch and took a big gulp. Then, he grumbled, "Young hero, since you can fly, why don't you bring me over this mountain range? Why do we have to walk step by step and make ourselves suffer?" Lin Muyu walked in the front leisurely. This journey was really a piece of cake for him. He looked back at Lu Bai and said, "Bai, didn't you say that you want to become a Saint Martial warrior, a powerful warrior respected by all? You can't even take this hardship to become a Saint Martial warrior?" "No, Lu Bai still wanted to argue, but Lin Muyu said, "Let's go. Once I start flying, I will soon be targeted. Do you want to be targeted by the Dragon Rider?" "But, the Dragon Rider is not a match for you at all. You are so powerful, I have seen it all." Lu Bai had developed an almost crazy admiration for Lin Muyu, his big brother. In his eyes, even if Baiming Huan, the marshal of the empire, who was ranked among the martial gods, came here, Lin Muyu would still be able to kill him. Lin Muyu was too lazy to argue and only said, "That's because those two dragon riders were too weak. If it was a dragon rider general, an expert like Su Chuan, then I might only be able to sit and wait for death. It can't be. Lu Bai was speechless, but he didn't say anything more. He just silently circulated the elementary chapter of the Forging Dragon Bone Remnant Scroll that Lin Muyu had taught him. He felt a warm current gradually emerging in his qi, and the strength he had consumed while walking was also somewhat replenished. He immediately became excited, feeling that he was about to cultivate his qi, King's fighting flame, and advance into the realm of God. Not long after, the sound of cackling came from the sky again. Lu Bai frowned. What a familiar voice. Wolf Falcon. Lin Muyu looked up and saw that the wolf falcon was indeed circling in the sky. He couldn't help but smile, and casually broke off a fist-sized stone from the side of the mountain. Young hero, what are you doing? Lu Bai was stunned. This wolf falcon is at least 1,000 meters away from us. Even a godly archer might not be able to hit it. This stone of yours, isn't it a little too superficial? Watch carefully. Lin Muyu smiled faintly and suddenly bent his body. His whole body shot out like a bow, and the stone in his hand shot out with a schwa sound. It was so fast that the friction in the air actually caused sparks to appear, and it shot into the sky like a meteor. But in the midst of the blood spurting out, the wolf falcon fell from the sky, landing in the grass not far away. Lu Bai's mouth was already wide open. Perhaps he shouldn't use common sense to measure this young ranger in front of him. Up until now, Lin Muyu hadn't mentioned a single word about his identity, so Lu Bai could only think that he was a ranger. Ranger was everywhere in the Celestial Pole. Wanderers could be found everywhere in the Celestial Pole continent. The so-called wanderers were just a group of people who cultivated martial arts and were unwilling to farm. Some had cultivated to the peak of martial arts and became a grandmaster of a generation, while some had only taken a peek at the door and finally became a hooligan who ran amok in the countryside. The majority of people belonged to the latter category. Therefore, wanderers were not worthy of the word chivalry. In their eyes, there was no chivalry to speak of. There was only power and money. Lin Muyu stepped on the shrubs and flew over, lifting the wolf falcon's corpse. It was indeed a feathered animal, but it was much larger than an ordinary falcon. The wolf's head had been smashed in half by the stone, and it looked somewhat ferocious. Lin Muyu raised his hand and condensed a fire blade, and with a palm strike, the wolf's head was cut off, and the force of the palm strike charred the wolf falcon's neck. Lin Muyu leaped to Lu Bai's side, raised the wolf falcon, and said, "Look, this is enough for us to eat 3 to 5 meals." Wolf falcon? I've never eaten a wolf falcon before. Lu Bai was delighted. Isn't it just eating bird meat? Is there a need to be so happy? Lin Muyu was puzzled. Young hero, there's something you don't know. Lu Bai began to speak eloquently. This wolf falcon is also known as a dragon falcon. It's said that wolf falcons were bred by the dragon rider ancestors tens of thousands of years ago. In order to maintain their extremely sharp sense of smell, wolf falcons have been fed with the fragments of dragon crystals since childhood, so wolf falcons are extremely valuable. They have always been raised by dragon rider regiments, and I've only heard that a prince of the empire once bought a wolf falcon. Just this one cost him 700,000 gold coins, which is enough to feed half a small city for half a year. It can't be, right? Lin Muyu weighed the wolf falcon in her hand and couldn't help laughing. I didn't expect this thing to be so valuable. If you can't blame me. I've already warned Hu Yin and Li Ku not to follow me anymore. Since they dare to send wolf falcons, then so be it. We'll eat as many as they send. How about it, Lini? Lu Bai was ecstatic. Good, I'll definitely eat more tonight. This day's journey has consumed too much physical strength. When night fell, the two of them could only set up camp deep in the mountains. Lin Muyu chose a place that was close to a cave and had a wide view to set up camp. Even after stepping into the divine realm, he still maintained the judgment and accomplishment that an imperial soldier should have. Such a camp was not easy to be discovered, and when outsiders entered, he could easily detect it himself. They started a bonfire with dead wood that they picked up from all over the place. Lu Bai was also a pitiful charlatan. Camping in the wild was as common as eating to him. After setting up the bonfire, he removed the feathers of the eagle and removed the dirt, pierced it with a wooden stick, and placed it above the flame to roast. Then he took out the oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, and chili powder that he bought from the town at the foot of the mountain and sprinkled them on the eagle's meat. The meat was covered in oil and made a squeaking sound, which was very tempting. The eagle flew all year round, so the meat on its wings and chest were all well-tempered. Under the roasting of the fire and the nourishment of the oil, the fragrance of the meat quickly spread. Lin Muyu unconsciously sniffed and said with a smile, "It smells so good. Lini, your barbecue skills are superb." "Is that so? Thank you for your praise, young hero." Lu Bai had a gratified look on his face as he said, "Thinking back, I once joined a spirit hunting group and was responsible for cooking for everyone. And that's probably how I train my skills." Spirit hunting group? What's that? It's a group of individuals that hunt demon spirits. Apart from the Tianji dragon riders that roam around and hunt demon spirits, the experts among the commoners will also form a few spirit hunting groups to hunt some low-level demon spirits. My spirit hunting group had 7 people, but they weren't very strong. Later on, when we were hunting a Tier 9 demon spirit, the group leader died in battle and the group was disbanded. Not bad. The corner of Lin Muyu's mouth drew back. A spirit hunting group that had their leader die in the line of duty while hunting the lowest level demon spirits. Sure enough, they weren't weak at all. Lu Bai awkwardly smiled and said, "What do you think? If you want to hunt demon spirits, then you must cultivate. However, the price of cultivation is too expensive." The rich members of the landowning households can buy some reflux pills, rare elixirs, and other medicines to help generate true qi and nourish the body. When they are born, high-level combat skills and martial arts are already prepared. Look at us poor children. A low-level martial art manual can easily cost tens of gold coins. How could we possibly afford it? As he spoke, Lu Bai looked towards Lin Muyu. He was actually a little touched as he said, "Young hero, you taught me the Forging Dragon Bone Remnant Scroll without any hesitation. To me, Lu Bai, this is truly the grace of a new life. No need to be so polite. Don't burn the meat and wipe away your tears. It's so embarrassing." "Ha, that's right, that's right." Lu Bai smiled foolishly. Although he was a swindler who read people's faces and brows, he was also a person born in poverty. His personality was still very simple and honest. This also made Lin Muyu secretly decide that before she left the Celestial Pole mainland, she would definitely teach Lu Bai some skills so that he could survive in this chaotic world. Not long after, the fragrance of the meat became increasingly rich. Lin Muyu could no longer hold it in. She took out a small demonic noise knife and cut off a piece of meat from the wolf falcon's chest. It was crispy and fragrant as it entered her mouth. She simply couldn't enjoy it more. The wolf falcon's meat that had been raised on dragon crystal fragments was indeed delicious. She didn't know what the heavenly jade dragon riders would think if they knew what she was thinking. They would probably cry, right? She ate heartily. It had been a long time since she had a good meal like this. After Lin Muyu ate and drank her fill, she leaned against the stone wall and closed her eyes to rest. They still had to continue their journey tomorrow, so she had to make sure that her body was at its peak. After all, in her 2-man team, Lu Bai's battle prowess was equivalent to 0, so she had to take care of everything. As for Lu Bai, after he ate and drank his fill, he took out a small, sparkling and translucent stone from his bosom. "What's that?" asked Lin Muyu. "Demon Spirit Stone." Lu Bai said, "Have you forgotten? It's the crystallized essence of the demon spirit you killed. It's said that after refining the demon spirit stone, you can absorb a portion of the spiritual energy and convert it into your own cultivation. Otherwise, why do you think the heavenly jade dragon riders and so many cultivators would go hunting for demon spirits?" "Oh, I see," Lin Muyu nodded, smiled and asked, "Do you know how to refine it?" "I don't know. What are you looking at if you don't know?" Lin Muyu opened her hand. "I know. Come, I'll help you refine it. Just focus on absorbing the spiritual energy in the demon spirit stone." "Really? Why would I lie to you?" Thank you, young hero. Lu Bai was ecstatic. Chapter 733. Swish, swish. The night was quiet, but there was a sparkling luster under the rock walls. The divine power of the law of fire was the most suitable for tempering. The demon spirit stone in Lin Muyu's palm was constantly turning, and it had already begun to decompose into energy particles the size of pomegranate seeds. These particles were pure energy bodies, containing more than half of the spiritual power of the demon spirit when it was alive. Lini, do your best to absorb, but don't force yourself. Yes, young hero. Lu Bai sat on the spot and circulated the elementary mental cultivation method of the Forging Dragon Bone Remnant Scroll. He only felt the spiritual power constantly lingering around him. Lin Muyu was guiding him to absorb this energy from the outside world. Not long after, the spiritual power turned into a warm current and seeped into his energy sea, causing Lu Bai's originally very shallow energy sea to instantly fill up. Very quickly, his face flushed red as he said, "Young hero, I can't do it anymore. I feel like my stomach is about to explode." Stop absorbing. After stopping absorbing, Lu Bai's expression became calm. Next, he only needed to digest this spiritual power by himself. Lin Muyu looked at the demon spirit stone particles revolving in her palm. Lu Bai had only absorbed less than 1/1000th of it, which was really too much of a pity. Thus, Lin Muyu circulated her energy and tried to use her supreme divine power to guide these demon spirit stone energy particles into her energy sea. Suddenly, there was a feeling of trickling into the sea. The spiritual power of this demon spirit stone was only a hair from 9 oxen compared to Lin Muyu's strength, but it was always good to have some. Not long after, the pomegranate seeds in her palm were all refined. Lin Muyu also felt as if new nutrients had been injected into his energy sea. At this moment, the demon spirit stone was only about 1/3 of his energy sea, but there was still new energy for him to absorb. For a moment he was extremely excited. Cultivators in the Shattered Cauldron realm all had a bottleneck: martial soul cultivation. When the martial soul was upgraded to a certain level, it could no longer refine and absorb the energy of wild beasts. This was also the reason why many people were stuck at a certain level for decades or even centuries. Only when the martial soul was upgraded could they absorb and refine the spirit of wild beasts to increase their strength. Normally, they couldn't absorb any energy from the spirit of wild beasts. At this moment, Lin Muyu finally understood why there were so many sacred martial gods, sacred martial kings, and sacred martial venerables in the celestial pole continent. The reason was Demon Spirit Stone. Demon Spirit Stone could be used by cultivators at any time throughout the year. This was more than twice the effort for half the result. Demon Spirit Stone would be the dominant factor of the continent in the future. To the people of the celestial pole continent, the Shattered Cauldron realm was a piece of juicy meat. However, at this moment, Lin Muyu changed her view. To the cultivators of the Shattered Cauldron realm, the celestial pole continent was the real juicy meat. Very quickly, he made up his mind that he must collect enough demon spirit stones in the heavenly greatness continent before returning to the empire. If he had enough demon spirit stone, Chu Yao could step into the god realm and maintain his youthful appearance forever. If he had enough demon spirit stone, Gu Yang could easily step into the saint realm and stop aging. Then he could cultivate to become a god and obtain eternal life. If he had enough demon spirit stone, the Qin Empire could also cultivate enough divine kings and divine emperors to compete with the experts in the celestial pole continent. For a moment, Lin Muyu felt that the burden on his shoulders was too heavy. He was very clear about how precious demon spirit stone was. However, people in the celestial pole continent were also very clear that to get enough demon spirit stone of a high enough level, one had to fight for it with a sword. He couldn't help but feel regretful. When he was in the clear desolation city, he should have taken the risk and snatched the demon spirit stone from Sichuan. That was an excellent treasure. However, it was too late to regret. There was no medicine for regret in this world. Late at night, Lu Bai covered himself with some straw and fell asleep. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, couldn't fall asleep. His gaze was fixed on the fertile forest in the distance. The people of the celestial pole were trying to crush the mountains and rivers that Qin Yin had painstakingly unified. No matter what, even if he had to risk his life, he had to stop them. The road of cultivation was long and distant. No one knew what the future would be like. However, even if one couldn't see the future clearly, he must continue to work hard. Not knowing how long it had been, a strong wave suddenly came from the spiritual pulse technique. Something was coming. According to the pulse of the power, it didn't seem to be a spirit beast, so it could only be a demon spirit. Moreover, it was very strong, not inferior to the venerable demon that Su Chuan had killed. "Lini, wake up," Lin Muyu said lightly. "What's wrong?" Lu Bai rubbed his eyes. Lin Muyu said, "Something is coming. Be careful and act according to my signal." Ah! Lu Bai was confused. He didn't know what was going to happen. Not long after, a rustling sound came. It was the sound of footsteps on the grass. The light of the bonfires slowly swayed. From afar, a beautiful figure slowly walked over. It was a young girl wearing a beast skin robe and holding a longbow. She looked to be around 18 years old. She was slender and elegant, and her figure could be considered a stunner. She was curvaceous, and the beast skin robe couldn't wrap around her. Wah! Lu Bai's eyes started to shine. It's a young girl from a hunter family. What a stunner! Lin Muyu sneered. Your cultivation is too shallow. You can't see what's beneath the surface. Oh! Lu Bai smiled. It's because my cultivation is too shallow that I'm moved by women's charms. I'm not like you. You look like a monk in meditation. Lin Muyu was speechless. At this time, the young girl from a hunter family had already walked over. She smiled slightly. I'm a hunter in the mountains. I followed my father to hunt a wild boar and got lost. Now I'm lost. There are jackals and wolves everywhere in the mountains, so I'll have to trouble you too. Can I spend the night here? I'll leave tomorrow at dawn. Lu Bai hurriedly said, Okay, I'll make room for you here. Lin Muyu frowned and smiled. Miss, you're so beautiful. You're a demon yourself. Why would you be afraid of the jackals and wolves in the mountains? Yo, the young girl glanced at Lin Muyu and said, What are you talking about, young master? As long as I'm human, I won't be afraid of jackals and wolves. Besides, I can't see the road clearly at night. Where do you want a weak girl like me to go? Lu Bai had already vacated the meadow. He patted the meadow with his palms. Miss, you can sleep here tonight. I'll protect you. By the way, I haven't asked for your name. My name is Lu Lian. Thank you for your care, young master. As she spoke, Lu Lian didn't go to Lu Bai's side. Instead, she walked directly to Lin Muyu's side and sat down by the campfire. She said, I'll stay here. The mountain winds are strong and it's quite cold at night. Don't you think so, young master? She blew the wind by her ear. A warm feeling came to Lin Muyu's ear. Lu Bai's face turned green. He was so attentive, but the young girl didn't buy it at all. Instead, she went to Lin Muyu's side. This was indeed a world where looks mattered. Could one get many women just because he was handsome? I, Lu Bai, am not convinced. He thought silently. However, Lin Muyu didn't think that the intimate attitude of the young girl was a good thing. The fluctuation of her spiritual pulse technique was very strong, and the demonic energy in the young girl's body was extremely tyrannical. As expected, demonic spirits were different from the spiritual beasts in the Shattered Cauldron realm. High-level demonic spirits could transform, and could even transform into such a beautiful woman. No wonder so many people fell for it. If she wasn't here today, Lu Bai would have fallen for it without a doubt. It would be fine if he could get intimate with her before he died, but if he didn't even enjoy this, then his death would have been too unjust. Of course, at this moment, Lu Bai's face turned green. He watched as the young girl leaned against Lin Muyu's side and spoke with a smile. She even used her big and round breasts to rub against Lin Muyu's arm. That feeling must be big and soft, right? Lin Muyu was silent. Softmayas. Her arm felt as if it was being pressed by a shield. It was ice cold. This young girl was cold all over. She was clearly a cold-blooded demonic spirit. Is that enough? He turned his face and looked at the young girl. A faint golden light shone in his eyes as he said, "How many people have you harmed with this method?" The young girl's expression suddenly changed. She laughed exaggeratedly and said, "Young man, you have some skills. You're actually unmoved even after this. I think you're clearly not a man. You're not even interested in touching a delicious meal that's delivered to your doorstep." Is that so? The speed of his attack was extremely fast. He opened his 5 fingers and grabbed the young girl's neck. He used all his strength to throw her out. Bang! With a loud sound, the young girl rolled far away among the rocks. What the hell? Lu Bai's jaw was about to hit the ground. "Young hero, you're too ruthless. You're playing with such violence. How can the young lady stand it? Can't you be gentle? Look for yourself. What kind of young lady is she?" When Lu Bai looked again, he was scared out of his wits. Among the rocks, the beautiful face had already been torn into pieces. What replaced it was a giant head that looked like a lizard. The moment the human skin was torn apart, she turned into a 3-meter-tall demon spirit. There were a total of 2 colors on its neck. One was red, and the other was green. This was a Demon King-level demon spirit. "It's over. I'm dead." Lu Bai's expression was filled with panic. Lin Muyu raised her hand and took out her longsword. She lightly said, "Commoner, if you were in my army, I would have already ordered you to be executed." But to disturb the army's morale. Before Lin Muyu finished her words, she turned into a beam of light and charged forward. A Demon King-level demon spirit's strength isn't any weaker than a low-level divine king. Facing such an opponent, she had to go all out. Her first move was the Stellar Arts Winding River of Falling Moon. The sword light turned into a crescent moon as it heavily slammed into the demon spirit's neck. Boom! Golden light rippled out. Lin Muyu's sword did not manage to cut off the Demon King's head. It only managed to cut off a few of its scales. On the contrary, the Demon King's expression became extremely ferocious. It swiped its claws and roared with a voice that was neither male nor female, "Stinking brat, you're courting death." But golden light burst out. The Demon King's claws actually passed through the dragon blood shield and directly slapped onto Lin Muyu's arm. Instantly, a burning pain came from her arm. She was bleeding. What a powerful Demon King. In just 1 round, it had already caused a superficial wound on Lin Muyu. Chapter 734. What? Is this all you've got? The Demon King's entire body was covered in a blood-red glow. His demonic energy surged. Both of his claws glowed with a cold light as he attacked like a gust of wind. Both of his arms danced wildly, bringing forth rays of light that cut the surrounding ground and rocks into pieces. When this kind of Demon King-level demon spirit unleashes its full power, it is indeed very frightening. Lu Bai had long since hidden himself in the cave. He was trembling in fear. As he trembled, he muttered, "How could such a beautiful girl be a demon spirit? It really doesn't make sense." Outside the cave, Lin Muyu could only defend under the Demon King's fierce attack. Both of her arms formed a shield, and she used the wind elemental law to deflect most of the Demon King's strength. She used the falling star steps to retreat. In the blink of an eye, she was forced to retreat nearly 100 meters by the Demon King. Seeing that there was already a huge rock wall behind Lin Muyu, the Demon King's gaze became more and more ferocious. "Brat, your time of death has come." "Is that so?" Lin Muyu suddenly clenched her left hand. Suddenly, an invisible ribbon appeared in the air and tightly bound the Demon King's legs. It was the astral chain that Lin Muyu quietly activated. The almost invisible astral energy formed a ribbon and tied the Demon King's body to the 100-meter-tall rock wall, preventing it from taking another step forward. "It's my turn." The astral sword shone brightly. As Lin Muyu's body charged forward like lightning, dozens of sword lights burst out and crisscrossed around the Demon King. Pung pung peng, sounds of slashing could be heard. However, the Demon King had the demonic energy shield to protect his body, so he was only injured and not killed. His body was covered in blood, and he used all his remaining strength to swing his claws. Bang! Lin Muyu's chest tightened. Her clothes were actually torn by the Demon King's power. A few shallow wounds also appeared on her chest. This time, she was really injured. This Demon King's strength was very powerful. Flying in the sky, he decided to change his tactic. He gently raised his palm, and a golden light descended from the sky. It was a dragon crystal. Bang! The celestial dragon crystal heavily bombarded the Demon King's head, causing it to be badly mutilated. Lin Muyu did not stop. She summoned the remaining divine power in her body and kept summoning the celestial dragon crystal. In the blink of an eye, dozens of celestial dragon crystals bombarded the Demon King's body one after another. Lin Muyu's divine power was also greatly consumed in a short period of time. She raised her right hand and suddenly threw the star's sword. Xiao! Raging flames wrapped around the long sword as it spun rapidly in a spiral. It was the dragon flame spiral slash from 100 meters away. Roar! The Demon King opened his mouth wide and roared. A blood-colored astral wall condensed in front of him to block Lin Muyu's fierce attack. However, how could he block it? The stellar sword easily broke through the astral wall and directly pierced into the Demon King's mouth. With a pu sound, the sword blade came out of the Demon King's head and pierced into the rocky ground. Flames soared into the sky. The Demon King's body was almost engulfed by the dragon flames. The Demon Spirit Stone must not be burned, otherwise, the attack would be in vain. Lin Muyu floated to the ground and stepped on the frost. Everywhere she passed, frost covered the ground. She quickly extinguished the fire but discovered that the Demon King's head was charred black. Just when Lin Muyu was about to reach it, a strong spiritual force rippled out from the spirit pulse technique. Not good, the Demon King was not dead yet. However, it was too late. The Demon King's feet turned cold. The Demon King's arms were like tough vines and hugged onto Lin Muyu's legs. It opened its bloody mouth and bit towards Lin Muyu's legs. Courting death. Without saying a word, Lin Muyu's fist descended from the sky and blasted straight onto the Demon King's head. 5 elements 8 wastelands annihilation. Bang! The heavy blow directly caused the Demon King's head to sink into the broken rocks. However, its arms were still hugging onto Lin Muyu's legs. Moreover, thin poisonous thorns grew out and pierced into Lin Muyu's calf. The numbing feeling made people feel very uncomfortable. Go to hell! Lin Muyu was extremely angry. He didn't care about the Demon Spirit Stone anymore. He raised his right fist and with the power of the 6 elements calamity, he once again punched the back of the Demon King's head. Bang! The back of the Demon King's head was completely blasted open and turned into mush. At the same time, the clamp on Lin Muyu's legs was released. He only felt a numbing feeling in his legs. He hurriedly circulated his supreme divine force to disperse the cold poison. Then he opened his palm and sucked out the Demon Spirit Stone from the brain. He burned it with fire and baptized it with wind blades. After cleaning it clean, he placed it into his cosmos sack. Lini, you can come out now. It's fine now. Lin Muyu slowly sat back down beside the bonfire. Killing this Demon King had consumed at least 70% of his divine force. He needed to recover quickly in case he encountered another strong opponent. If he was killed because of exhaustion, it would be too unjust. Lu Bai carefully walked out and picked up a branch to poke the Demon King's corpse and said, "Is it really dead?" "Yes, of course it's fake. You actually single-handedly killed a Demon King?" Lu Bai frowned and muttered to himself in a low voice, "What a freak. Even a dragon rider might not necessarily be able to single-handedly kill a Demon King. This kid is really not simple." As he spoke, Lu Bai began to drag the Demon King's corpse. "What are you doing?" Lin Muyu was a little surprised and asked. "The Demon King's corpse is so disgusting. Moreover, the Yin energy is too strong. It can't be roasted and eaten at all. What do you want the corpse for?" "You don't understand." Lu Bai grinned and said, "The Tianji Empire has a rule. Anyone who kills a demon spirit of the 6th rank or above can bring the corpse to various provinces and cities to receive a reward. This is the corpse of a demon king. It's worth at least 10,000 gold coins. In addition, there will also be a demon spirit stone from the demon venerable as a reward. The demon spirit stone from the demon venerable? Lin Muyu was stunned. He didn't care about 10,000 gold coins, but he couldn't help but be tempted by the demon spirit stone from the demon venerable. After all, the demon spirit stone was equivalent to a treasure that could increase one's cultivation. It was a good thing no matter where it was. Although he didn't want to cause trouble, he didn't want to let go of a good opportunity to get the demon spirit stone from the demon venerable. Is there any city nearby where I can get it? Lin Muyu asked. Let me think. Lu Bai pondered for a while and pointed to the east. He said, over the Wormwood Mountain about 100 miles to the east is the central city of Xishan Province, Shiping City. Shiping City is known as one of the 4 famous cities of the Tianji Empire. It's on par with Tianji City, Dongning City, and Huiyuan City. It's very rich. Probably only a famous city like Shiping City will have ready-made demon spirit stones from the treasury. If we go to get the reward, will we be targeted? Young hero, if you're worried about this, why don't I go to get the reward alone, and you follow me secretly? When we get out of the city, we'll split the money. What do you think? Lu Bai's eyes were already filled with the luster of the gold coins. Lin Muyu waved his hand and said, if it's really a reward, I'll give you 10,000 gold coins. I'll take the demon spirit stone from the demon venerable. Oh! Lu Bai was stunned. He said, but, although the demon spirit stone is a good thing, the demon spirit stone of the demon venerable, demon king, and demon emperor is actually not very expensive. Why do you value it so much? The price is not high? But Lin Muyu was confused. Lu Bai immediately smiled. Although refining the demon spirit stone can absorb the spiritual energy in the spirit stone and turn it into one's own, the spiritual energy in the demon spirit stone of the demon venerable, demon king, and demon emperor is too strong. After refining it, all the spiritual energy will leak out. It's already not bad for an ordinary cultivator to absorb 1 or 2% of the spiritual energy. I heard that even a sacred martial god can't completely refine and absorb the power of the demon spirit stone of the demon venerable in one go. Therefore, the price of the demon spirit stone of the demon venerable is actually not much different from that of the 5th and 6th grade. Most of them are only for the collection of the aristocrats. I see. Lin Muyu had some doubts in her heart. Not long ago, she refined the demon spirit stone of the 5th grade, but after she completely absorbed the spiritual energy in the demon spirit stone, her chi was only filled by 1/3. However, according to what Lu Bai said, even the top sacred martial god couldn't completely absorb the demon spirit stone of the demon venerable. From this, it could be seen that the degree of integration was not as good as hers. Why was this so? She was confused and couldn't figure it out. However, he didn't know that the Supreme Godhead was a gift from the heavens. Naturally, the amount and speed of the integration of spiritual energy was much higher than that of the other 4th grade godheads. Lin Muyu didn't know the magical effects of the Supreme Godhead, but she was also growing rapidly under the blessing of the Supreme Godhead. The two of them quickly decided to leave the Ai Chao Mountain at daybreak and head for Shiping City. At the same time, Lin Muyu also wanted to see how prosperous this legendary city, one of the 4 famous cities of the Tianji Empire, was. Know thyself and know thy enemy, and you will never be defeated. At daybreak, it started to rain. As a result, Lu Bai was completely drenched. However, Lin Muyu was different. With the protection of her divine power, the rainwater separated itself when it was 5 centimeters away from her body. She carried the Demon King's corpse in one hand and climbed over the mountain in a much easier manner than Lu Bai. After walking for an entire day and night, they finally arrived at Shiping City early the next morning. After resting for a bit at an inn outside the city, they hired a carriage in the afternoon and loaded the Demon King's corpse. Lu Bai drove the carriage into the city, while Lin Muyu maintained her original knight-errant attire and followed closely behind. This Demon King was hunted by her with great difficulty, so she had to keep a close eye on the rewards. From a distance, the outer city walls of Shiping City were at least 30 meters tall. They were extremely majestic, and the bricks were all made of pure white marble. One could imagine how sturdy it was. Lin Muyu raised her head and looked at the walls. She could clearly see that there was a guard every 5 meters on the city walls. The guards were equipped with long swords and bows. In addition, there was a crossbow carriage every 10 meters. Each crossbow carriage could load 10 thick steel arrows at once, so its shooting power was definitely very powerful. What made Lin Muyu even more surprised was that there were also some lassos on the city walls. They were probably used to hunt targets in the air, right? That was the only way to think about it. Chapter 735. Shiping City could be said to be as prosperous as Lanyan City. Merchants and travelers were as numerous as the clouds and pedestrians weaved together. The moment she stepped into Shiping City, Lin Muyu had the illusion that this was simply a flourishing city. Of course, after meeting Su Chuan and the other dragon riders, Lin Muyu would no longer maintain this thought. The Tianji Empire was divided into different levels of governance. The distinction between nobility and lowliness was even stricter. Those who possessed absolute strength were even more cruel and merciless. They viewed human lives as nothing more than trifles. An extremely luxurious and majestic mansion was located in the center of Shiping City. It occupied an extremely large area and was as luxurious as a palace. This was the Shiping City's city lord's mansion. It was also the residence of the provincial governor, Bai Mingshuang. In the depths of the mansion, in the meeting room, Bai Mingshuang had a mustache and sat upright on a carved chair. His cheekbones were a little protruding, but his eyes were full of light. He gently put down the teacup in his hand and said with a smile, "Since First Miss has said so, then Shiping City cannot help the Tianji sect with this matter. Don't worry. Although 105th-tier demon spirit stones are a little difficult to obtain, I will definitely gather them for you even if I have to turn the Shiping Prefecture's treasury upside down." In front of him, a young girl dressed in green sat very calmly. Her delicate and jade-like face made people gasp in amazement at the miraculous creation of the heavens. The heavens and earth could actually create such a delicate and wonderful person. Then, "Thank you, Lord Governor." The young girl stood up and bowed elegantly. She smiled and said, "Then I will return first and wait for the Lord Governor's news." "All right, First Miss, don't worry. Guards, send First Miss Sikong off." "Yes." A few guards waited respectfully outside the door. After the young girl left, her attendants also followed respectfully behind her. Although this was Shiping Prefecture, the young girl's eyes were filled with arrogance. It was as if she did not place Shiping Prefecture in her eyes at all. However, she indeed had the ability to be so arrogant. After all, she was Si Kong Yao, the only granddaughter of the Tianji sect's sect leader, Si Kong Ming. She was simply the treasure of the entire Tianji sect. In the hall, Bai Mingshuang was silent. Behind him, a middle-aged powerhouse with bright eyes said, "My lord, the Celestial Jewel sect is going overboard. They didn't even ask His Majesty and directly asked for something from Shiping City. The Celestial Jewel sect's Si Kong Yao is looking down on you." Forget it, Bai Mingshuang shook his head and said, "Who asked her to be Si Kong Yao? That old fellow Si Kong Ming treats Si Kong Yao like the apple of his eye." The Tianji sect is the #1 sect in the empire and even the mainland. We can't afford to offend them. Even if they ask His Majesty will still order Shiping City to provide 100 demon spirit stones to her. Forget it. Let's get someone to search the treasury. If they can't gather enough, then go to the Chamber of Commerce and buy them at a high price. In short, try your best to satisfy Si Kong Yao's requests. Don't bring unnecessary trouble to yourself. "Yes, I understand." At this moment, a guard's voice came from outside the hall. "Governor, there's someone outside who said he brought the corpse of a demon king and wants to receive a reward. That person looks ordinary and has no cultivation at all. He must be a swindler. Let me chase him away." "Swindler?" Bai Mingshuang frowned. "I don't think so. Since he dared to bring the corpse of a demon king, then let him enter the courtyard. Let's go take a look." "Yes, Governor." Outside the door, Si Kong Yao, who had not gone far, frowned and said softly, "The corpse of a demon king? Who has such great ability to kill a demon king? Don't go yet? Let's take a look first." "Yes, eldest lady." A group of guards nodded respectfully. Among them, there was no lack of martial venerables. With such a group of people as guards, one could imagine how distinguished Si Kongyao's status was. Perhaps even the princes of the empire might not have such an imposing manner when they went out. Accompanied by squeaking sounds, a person drove a carriage into the courtyard. It was Lu Bai. The demon king's corpse on the carriage was wrapped in black cloth, and outsiders could not see it clearly. "Governor, it's this person." A group of guards surrounded him, all of them looking ready to fight. If it was confirmed that Lu Bai was a swindler, there was no doubt that he would not end up well. "This lowly one greets governor." Lu Bai quickly got off the carriage and knelt on the ground, looking spineless. Bai Mingshuang was a member of the imperial family, so he naturally looked down on people like Lu Bai who mingled in the Jianghu. He frowned and said, "I heard that you killed the demon king and even brought its corpse?" "I didn't kill it." Lu Bai said, "It's just that when this lowly one passed by Ai Chao Mountain, I found this demon king's corpse. The notice of the empire clearly states that as long as you bring the demon king's corpse, you can receive the reward. Sir, please take a look, this corpse is still intact." After the cloth was lifted, the demon king's corpse was revealed. The faint stench made the surrounding people cover their mouths and noses. Bai Mingshuang was silent, and a martial artist at the side frowned and said, "Sir, this is indeed the demon king's corpse." Si Kongyao was stunned, and her beautiful eyes were full of surprise. "Xueji? This is Xueji's corpse. Xueji was actually killed?" Bai Mingshuang was stunned. "Missy, who is Xueji?" Si Kongyao smiled and said, "Sir, there are many demon spirits living around Ai Chao Mountain, and they have been in conflict with our Tianji sect. This demon king's name is Xueji, and the number of people who died in her hands is at least 50. I didn't expect her to be dead now. What a pity, I originally wanted to kill her personally to avenge my sect." "So, this is indeed a demon king." Bai Mingshuang was silent again. Lu Bai grinned and said, "Lord Governor, according to the announcement, can this lowly one be given a reward now?" Bai Mingshuang was not willing to give the expensive demon spirit stones to a lowly person like Lu Bai, but there were so many people here. If Bai Mingshuang was not willing to hand over the reward, he would definitely become a laughingstock, especially Si Kongyao. She was crossing her arms in front of her chest, and her pair of C-cup breasts were protruding. She was smiling and waiting to see him make a fool of himself. He must not be looked down upon by this little girl. Bai Mingshuang's mouth twitched and said, "Someone, go to the treasury and take out a demon venerable's demon spirit stone and 20,000 gold coins worth of gold notes to give to this young hero. In addition, since you have obtained the demon king's corpse, why don't you stay in the prefecture for a few more days? Take it as a form of hospitality from Shiping City. What do you think?" Lu Bai was not stupid. If he really stayed in Shiping Prefecture, he might not even be able to leave alive. He grinned and said, "This is not very good. I'm just a commoner, so I won't disturb you. Moreover, my friend is still waiting for me. I'll go back after receiving the reward." "If that's the case, all right then." Bai Mingshuang did not want to force him in front of so many people. Not long after, a servant came with the reward. It was a thick stack of gold notes and a precious demon spirit stone in a box. The demon spirit stone of a demon venerable was quite expensive. It was not something that could be bought with tens of thousands of gold coins. "Then I'll take my leave." Lu Bai happily took the rewards and stuffed them into his arms. He unloaded the demon king's corpse, turned around, and drove his horse away. Bai Mingshuang did not say anything. He only signaled his subordinate with his eyes. The middle-aged expert nodded and smiled. He turned around and walked towards the backyard. "Miss Si Kongyao, I won't be sending you off." Bai Mingshuang smiled. "All right, thank you for your hospitality, Governor." Si Kongyao nodded and turned around to leave Shiping Prefecture. A group of subordinates followed closely behind. One of them asked in a low voice, "Miss, where are we going now?" Why don't we stay in Shiping Prefecture? Stay in Shiping Prefecture? Si Kongyao pouted. What's so fun about Shiping Prefecture? It's so boring. Besides, Bai Mingshuang is a cunning old fox. I don't want to live under his nose. The guard smiled. I think that kid who took the Demon Venerable's Demon Spirit Stone will not be able to leave Shiping City alive. Sooner or later, this Demon Spirit Stone will return to Bai Mingshuang's hands. The reputation of being the most miserly person in Xishan province is not just for show. Who cares? A hint of fatigue appeared on Si Kongyao's beautiful face. She said, let's go. We'll find an inn to stay in first. I want to take a good stroll around Shiping City in the afternoon. Yes, miss. But the guards did not see the sly smile that flitted across Si Kongyao's beautiful face. At dusk, outside of Shiping City, at the 10-Mile Slope Inn. 10-Mile Slope was one of the 3 inns in the north of the city. The accommodation was considered cheap, so Lin Muyu chose this place. When Lu Bai drove the carriage into the inn, Lin Muyu, who was hiding among the pedestrians, quickly followed. She patted Lu Bai's shoulder and smiled. All right, the Demon Spirit Stone is mine, and the gold notes are yours. Lu Bai held the 20,000 gold notes in his hands. He was already elated. He happily handed the Demon Spirit Stone to Lin Muyu and said, young hero, you've really made a fortune. Ah, this is great. I, Lu Bai, have finally made a name for myself. Let's see who in Qinghuang City still dares to look down on me, Lu Bai. When I return to Qinghuang City, I'll buy a big house with 4 entrances and 4 exits. I'll have 30 concubines, 1 every day, once a month. Lin Muyu said, there are only 28 days in February. What should we do? Lu Bai was stunned. He sat down on the cold stone floor of the inn's inner courtyard. Yes, what should we do? Why think so much? Let's eat a good meal first. All right. In the blink of an eye, it was late at night. Lin Muyu and Lu Bai's rooms had all turned off their lights. Not only was Lu Bai exhausted, but even Lin Muyu felt that she needed enough sleep. The moonlight was like water. Apart from the sounds of a group of guests gambling in the inn's lobby, everything seemed to be so quiet. Shwa shwa shwa. 3 silhouettes appeared on the roof of the house. All of them had their faces covered, and the steel sabers in their hands glowed with a cold light. Chapter 736. That brat is staying here. Sky Room 1. We've already confirmed it, one of them said coldly. The other narrowed his eyes. That brat is just a piece of trash who doesn't know martial arts. I don't think he has even reached the Earth realm. Why do we have to waste so much effort? We can just charge in and kill him. Then we can take the Demon Spirit Stones and go back to report. No, it's not that simple. The Lord wants us to investigate this brat's identity. Also, we need to investigate the identities of all the people accompanying him. Someone who can kill a demon king is definitely not that simple. Yes, should we kill that brat or not? Kill. Then how do we investigate his identity? We'll investigate after we kill him. Okay. The 3 of them flipped over and landed on the ground of the courtyard nimbly like sparrowhawks. There were even waves of domain power rippling around them. That was the strength of a holy heaven realm cultivator. However, before the 3 of them could make a move, a woman's voice came from the forest in the courtyard. It was very clear and melodious. Stop. The 3 of them were stunned. They turned around and saw a girl in green standing in the air. It was Si Kongyao, who had gone to Shiping Prefecture during the day. Meddlesome. Let's attack together. Even though they knew Si Kongyao's identity, they could only pretend that they didn't know. If they couldn't complete this mission, the 3 of them would definitely be severely punished when they returned. They knew this very well. Are you guys looking for death? Si Kongyao suddenly smiled. She stood in the air and formed a pair of palms with her hands. Instantly, streams of frost energy swirled around her. It was extremely mysterious. The entire force field in the inner courtyard of the inn was immediately controlled by Si Kongyao. Sky full of frost. Si Kongyao shouted. The surrounding air seemed to instantly freeze. Among the three, the Holy King Realm Cultivator's steel blade, which was surrounded by King's fighting flame, was instantly frozen. Si Kongyao moved like a butterfly. Her 5 fingers lightly flipped over and pressed on his chest. He instantly flew back while vomiting blood. He was actually defeated in just one move. A cold light flashed, and this was the attack of a Divine Heaven Realm Cultivator. It was extremely fast, and the blade was surrounded by King's battle flame. This simple blade seemed to be able to cut through everything in the world. Si Kongyao's beautiful face was filled with calmness. Suddenly, she stepped into the air, her small waist horizontally, maintaining her posture as if she was lying in midair. Coincidentally, she dodged the sharp blade. Raising her palm, she chopped towards the opponent's shoulder. Ice Profound Art's second form, Condensing Ice Blade. In the blink of an eye, a round of weapons appeared around Si Kongyao's palm. Bang! Under this heavy blow, one could even hear the sound of his shoulder blade breaking. Even a Divine Heaven Realm expert was unable to withstand Si Kongyao's attack. Again? The third person also arrived. Even though the second Divine Heaven Realm expert's shoulder had been injured, he still charged forward with his saber in hand. His expression was twisted with malevolence. If they couldn't kill Si Kongyao, they were going to die anyway. After all, they had already attacked the young mistress of the Tianji sect, so what could they do even if they went back? A single word from Si Kongming would be enough to kill them 10,000 times. As such, they could only kill Si Kongyao as this was their only way out. Hee hee, Si Kongyao let loose a peal of crisp laughter as she quickly retreated. The water vapor in the surrounding air was quickly manipulated by her, and a series of small icicles appeared around her. Seeing as you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Si Kongyao gently spread open her fingers, and her divine power surged forth. Countless ice spikes hurtled through the air around her, striking the oncoming duo like a torrential downpour. The ice spikes easily tore through their suits of battle armor, and it was as if the rain of ice had been transformed into a rain of blood. Even though this was a massacre, it still appeared to be quite graceful. Aria of the Frozen Rain was the least destructive of the Ice Profound Arts, but it was also the most beautiful move. Bang bang, 2 corpses fell to the ground. Si Kongyao stood proudly in the air, her long hair fluttering in the wind. Her clothes fluttered slowly, accentuating her impressive figure. In the blink of an eye, only one of the 3 assassins from Shiping Prefecture was left, and it was a heavily injured one. He scrambled to his feet, knelt on the ground, and cried, "Young Mistress Sikong, we were wrong, we were wrong. Please spare my life, I won't dare to do it again. Please spare my life, young mistress. This lowly one will definitely be grateful to you for the rest of his life. Go." Si Kongyao chuckled. The assassin turned and ran away. Si Kongyao raised her hand. Pfft. An icicle pierced straight through the assassin's chest. He slowly knelt on the ground with his face full of horror. "I didn't say I wouldn't kill you." The smile on Si Kongyao's beautiful face disappeared as she said, "An assassin will be killed one day. Do you think I'll give you the chance to go back and report to Baiming Shuang? Do you think I'm a 3-year-old? As she spoke, Si Kongyao looked towards Lin Muyu and Lu Bai's room from afar. She couldn't help but frown lightly as she said, "I caused such a big commotion and they actually didn't feel it? You must be pretending. If you're not an idiot, you must be an otherworldly expert." In the room, Lin Muyu was lying calmly on the bed. He naturally knew about the battle outside, but he knew the outcome the moment it started. The strongest among the 3 assassins was only a Divine Heaven Realm expert, while Si Kongyao was an ultimate god with at least 20th level Grotto Heaven Realm cultivation. The outcome was very obvious. However, Lin Muyu did not plan to go out. After all, he knew Si Kongyao was here for the Demon King's corpse. The person Si Kongyao was looking for was the person who killed the Demon King Xueji, and that person was him. Once he admitted to it, he would probably get into endless trouble. At least for now, Lin Muyu did not plan to stand out in the celestial pole continent. He wanted to avoid trouble and gather more information. Knock, knock. Not long after, someone knocked on the door and a woman's voice was heard. "Sir, I'm a singer in the inn. I need some money to make a living. Please open the door." It was Si Kongyao's voice. Lin Muyu could not help but snigger. Who would come to sing in the middle of the night? Moreover, she personally delivered him to the room. With Si Kongyao's beauty, wasn't she afraid of being raped on the spot? After thinking about it carefully, she was not afraid at all. The ice mystic technique was the unique skill of the celestial virtue sex Lord, Si Kongming. There were less than 100 people on this continent who could force Si Kongyao to sleep with them, but none of them dared to sleep with her. It was easy to provoke Si Kongyao, but provoking Si Kongming was equivalent to courting death. I'll just ignore her and pretend there's no one in the room. Lin Muyu continued to sleep. "Sir, it's impolite if you don't open the door," continued Si Kongyao. Lin Muyu endured it and still did not open the door. Bang! That pitiful door instantly broke into pieces, and Si Kongyao broke in. She was holding a zither that she had snatched from who knows where, and said in a wrong tone, "Sir, do you want to listen to music?" A million curses ran through Lin Muyu's mind, and she said, "I'm tired, I want to have a good sleep." "Miss, there are some silver coins in the pouch on the table, you can help yourself." Si Kongyao was secretly angry. "You little thing, you think I can't catch you? Sir, you don't deserve a reward without doing anything. Are you really not going to listen?" "I'm not listening." Lin Muyu was about to fly into a rage. Si Kongyao sat on the stool without any trace of politeness and maintained her ladylike demeanor. "If you really don't want to listen, this little girl still wants to sing." Lin Muyu was extremely vexed, and she turned her back to her and continued to sleep. Only the heavens knew what this girl was trying to do, but one thing was clear, she bore no hostility toward her, and that was because Lin Muyu could not sense any killing intent from her. "Are you really not going to listen?" Si Kongyao suddenly leaped up, raised the zither, and smashed it down toward Lin Muyu's head. As expected of a hot-tempered person, she had already attacked before the 10th sentence. Bam! The zither exploded, and Lin Muyu had her suit of battle armor on, so at the very least, the zither wouldn't be able to harm her. "You really are an expert." Si Kongyao spun around in retreat, and her feet treaded through the air as frost energy revolved around her body. "Come on, do it. I want to know just how powerful the person who killed the demon monarch is." "Here." Lin Muyu sat up and pointed at her head. "Is there water in here?" At this moment, another person appeared at the door. It was Lu Bai, and he asked with sleepy eyes, "Young hero, what's going on? What are you doing in the middle of the night?" "Huh, who is this beauty? Wow, you're flying." Si Kongyao landed on the ground, tidied up her clothes, and smiled politely. "We meet again. You're the beauty from Shiping Prefecture during the day. I know you." Lu Bai only knew that Si Kongyao was the beauty from earlier, but he didn't know her identity. Otherwise, he would have been scared to death. "What were you doing in the young hero's room?" Lu Bai asked again. Si Kongyao smiled. "Nothing much, I suddenly walked into the wrong door. I'm sorry, I'll leave now." "You want to leave just like that?" Lin Muyu gritted her teeth. "Why did you hit my head with your zither?" "Did I? Where's the zither?" Si Kongyao was calm. Damn it, she seemed to have predicted that the zither would be shattered into pieces by the battle armor. Lin Muyu didn't want to cause trouble, so she waved her hand. "You can leave now, I'm going to sleep." Lu Bai looked at the broken door. "Young hero, your door is gone, how are you going to sleep?" "It's nothing, just help me hang the bedsheet on it." "Okay." Outside the door, Si Kongyao was walking along the corridor of the inn, her brows tightly locked together. "How is this possible? How is this possible? Why does he have that calmness? Why is it like this? He must be hiding his strength. I must force him to make a move. Someone who can kill a demon king must be at least a Saint Martial king. I must help my grandfather win over such a rookie and let him join the Tianji sect." Creak! The door beside her opened, and a shifty-eyed man smiled. "Yo, miss, you're here to solicit business in the middle of the night? You're so pretty. How much for a night? Come in." "Get lost." Si Kongyao's face was as cold as ice. Chapter 737. The next morning, the heavy spring rain did not seem to stop at all. Lin Muyu and Lu Bai got up early and had a simple breakfast in the lobby of the inn, which consisted of several steamed buns and pickled vegetables. Later, Lu Bai bought 2 tents and some cooking materials. When they were about to leave, a young girl led a horse and followed them from a distance. As Lin Muyu expected, it seemed that Si Kongyao had not given up the idea of drawing him into the Tianji sect. She was really persistent. They bought 2 straw raincoats and got on the horse. The spring rain was slightly cold, but the pear blossoms on the roadside were already in full bloom. It was snow-white, and the petals fell with the raindrops. The fragrance seeped into the soil, which was indescribably poetic and picturesque. Young hero Si Kongyao is following us. Lu Bai reminded him in a low voice. Who cares? If she wants to follow us, let her. But they went straight to the Tianji province. The capital of the Tianji Empire, Tianji City, was their next destination. However, if they wanted to go to the Tianji province, they had to take a detour. They had to go through the Mugwort Mountain, which was 300 miles long, before they could get on the official road to the Tianji city. This was a shortcut. Otherwise, they had to take a detour, which would take at least half a month. Si Kongyao followed them from a distance. At noon, they entered the mountain. Originally, Lin Muyu thought that Si Kongyao would turn back. After all, the Mugwort Mountain was not an ordinary place. It was not only full of all kinds of dangers, but also very difficult. However, Si Kongyao did not do that. She still urged her horse to follow them from a distance. Lu Bai finally could not take it anymore. He stopped his warhorse and asked, "First young Mistress Sikong, why are you following us like this? We're just 2 nameless brats. You're the first young mistress of the Tianji sect. Why are you so calculative with us?" Si Kongyao blinked her bright eyes and said, "We should go our separate ways. Why do you say that I'm following you?" Lu Bai was stunned and actually had nothing to say. Lin Muyu smiled faintly and said, "Young Mistress Sikong, I'm just a nobody. I'm not interested in making a name for myself, so I won't join the Tianji sect. Please give up. A person who can kill a demon king is definitely not simple. How can someone like you be content with being ordinary?" Si Kongyao's lips curled up into a charming smile. "I don't believe it. Let's wait and see. If you want to follow us, then follow us. We can't stop you." It's none of your business." Si Kongyao pouted and looked unhappy. Actually, ever since she was born, she was doted on by everyone. Everyone in the Tianji sect doted on her. However, Si Kongyao was extremely strong. She followed her grandfather Si Kongming and cultivated the most difficult ice mystic technique. In just a few decades, she actually made great progress. Furthermore, with the help of an endless supply of demon spirit stones, she stepped into the first heaven of the deity realm before the age of 20. It could be said to be a miracle. The strong-willed Si Kongyao naturally did not want to be seen as a spoiled young mistress. Therefore, when Lin Muyu revealed an expression of, "We won't take care of you," Si Kongyao's explosive temper was about to explode. The mountain road was difficult to traverse. By the time the sky turned dark, they had only crossed 2 mountains. Even the warhorses were so tired that they were about to foam at the mouth, let alone the people. Lin Muyu and Si Kongyao were still fine, but Lu Bai was on the verge of death and repeatedly asked for a rest. Lin Muyu looked at the surrounding terrain. After a while, she pointed to a distance and said, "Let's set up camp in the valley over there." But when Lu Bai led the horse over, Si Kongyao watched from afar. She could not help but feel a little surprised. That kid chose such a place to set up camp seemed simple, but in fact, there was a hidden secret. That place was surrounded by walls, which was the best place to hide one's aura and not be discovered by the demon spirit. Even if one lit a fire, it would not be easily discovered. When attacked by beasts, one could easily defend against the cold and wind by leaning on the wall behind them. It was simply wonderful. "This guy, who is he?" Si Kongyao muttered to herself as she led her horse and walked over as well. The valley was very spacious and there were a few residents. They were swift wolves that were over 1,000-year-old spirit beasts. The Heaven's Pole continent also had these kinds of spirit beasts. Lin Muyu could not help but smile. Dinner is prepared so quickly, not bad, Xiao. The demonic noise blade slashed out and a swift wolf fell to the ground. The other swift wolves were frightened by Lin Muyu's aura and ran away. He did not chase after them as he did not need to kill spirit beasts. After all, they were formed from heaven and earth's spiritual energy. Lu Bai took out a dagger and skinned the swift wolf and washed it with the water he brought. Then he used the iron pot to cook tonight's dinner. Soon, the pot of swift wolf meat emitted a faint fragrance. The swift wolf was of the fire attribute and its meat was very dry, but in this kind of cold spring night, the meat of the swift wolf seemed to be the most suitable food. Lin Muyu and Lu Bai sat next to the fire, while Si Kongyao stood, aloof, on a hill not far away. She looked over from afar as if she was afraid that Lin Muyu would suddenly disappear. Lu Bai scooped up a bowl of meat soup and gave a bowl to Lin Muyu. Then he said to Si Kongyao in the distance, "Young miss, come and eat. The early spring nights are very cold." Si Kongyao's voice was ice cold. "I'm not hungry, you guys eat." Lin Muyu raised her head to look at her and said, "Bai, don't worry about her. We'll just eat." But the two of them ate heartily. Si Kongyao watched from afar and couldn't help but swallow her saliva. Her beautiful eyes drifted over. Lin Muyu found this funny. She picked up the bowl of meat soup that Lu Bai had scooped up and a pair of chopsticks. She stepped forward and disappeared on the spot with a whoosh. In the next moment, she appeared in front of Si Kongyao. This was the teleportation ability of Void Step. "You really are a god," Si Kongyao said with a proud smile. Lin Muyu passed the meat soup in front of her and said, "Are you satisfied now? Can you eat? If I starve you, I'm worried that the Tianji sect will send people to kill me and Lu Bai. Moreover, how did you get rid of those tails of yours?" The corner of Si Kongyao's mouth rose and she didn't refuse. She took the bowl and chopsticks from Lin Muyu and said, "It's too easy to get rid of those people. I have 100 ways. Can you tell me your name now?" "I'm a savage from the mountains. I have no name and follow my master to cultivate. Lu Bai calls me young hero. You can call me that too. Isn't this too casual?" Si Kongyao couldn't help but curl her lips and say, "Everyone has their own name, but you don't. You're such a strange person." Lin Muyu shrugged, indicating that she didn't care. She pointed at the two tents that had just been set up in the valley and said, "I don't think you bought anything to set up camp. You can choose one of the two tents. Bai and I will squeeze in." This isn't too good, right? "It's fine. Just treat it as my thanks to you." "Thanks?" Si Kongyao was confused. "What are you thanking me for?" "Thank you for helping me and Bai deal with the assassins from Shiping Prefecture last night. Otherwise, I'm afraid Bai and I would be on the wanted list of Shiping Prefecture very soon." "You know all about it?" Si Kongyao's small mouth opened wide. "If you don't eat now, the food will get cold." Lin Muyu didn't answer her question. She took a step forward and disappeared from where she stood. She once again appeared in the valley. Si Kongyao was dumbfounded. Anyone who had stepped into the immortal realm could shatter the void. There were so many sacred martial gods, sacred martial kings, and sacred martial venerables in the empire who could shatter the void. However, Si Kongyao had never seen someone who could shatter the void consecutively in less than 3 minutes. Perhaps her grandfather could do it? Who on earth was this kid? Filled with questions, she quickly ate the meat and drank the soup. She had been hungry for almost a day. Now that she had eaten this, she felt that it was the most delicious thing in the world. She never knew that wolf meat could be so delicious. Late at night, the cold wind of early spring blew through the valley. Si Kongyao went into one of the tents to rest. Lu Bai was also afraid of the cold, so he went into another tent. Only Lin Muyu didn't want to sleep. She floated up and landed on a pine tree on the cliff. She sat on the thick branch of the pine tree and took out the demon venerable spirit stone. Since she didn't want to sleep, she would try to refine this demon venerable spirit stone to increase her strength. Her cultivation in the 21st heavenly abode had been stagnant for a long time. She took out the fire of the refining cauldron and slowly refined the demon venerable spirit stone. However, this was a demon venerable spirit stone. It was not as easy to refine as a 5th-rank demon venerable spirit stone. Lin Muyu held the flame in her hand. After 2 hours, the demon venerable spirit stone's exterior finally began to disintegrate. It broke down into spiritual power particles the size of pomegranate seeds. Each particle contained a very rich spiritual power that could be absorbed. Lin Muyu closed her eyes and guided the supreme divine power in her body to fuse with the pomegranate seeds. She began to assimilate the power of the demon venerable spirit stone. Her left hand naturally and gently raised. A faint golden dark force flowed back. This was the power of the refining spirit art's 4th heavenly cultivation method, 1000 tempering 100 refinement. The power of the demon venerable spirit stone in her right hand slowly gathered in her left hand and flowed repeatedly. Every strand of energy circulated 3 to 5 times in the refining spirit art's mental cultivation method and automatically seeped into Lin Muyu's qi. That was the dark force that had been assimilated. Although she didn't say anything, Lin Muyu was ecstatic in her heart. The refining spirit art was indeed an exquisite mental cultivation method. It couldn't be better to use it to refine the demon venerable spirit stone. In the blink of an eye, another 2 hours passed. The pomegranate seeds in her right hand were almost used up. However, Lin Muyu's qi was almost full. It was about 95% full. What a terrifying supreme divine power stone. Even a whole demon venerable spirit stone couldn't fill up the qi completely. This kind of absorption power was too shocking. In the distance, a beautiful figure floated in the air. It was Si Kongyao. No one knew when she had come out. She stood in the air and quietly watched how Lin Muyu refined and absorbed the demon venerable spirit stone. The more she watched, the more shocked and confused she became. She opened her eyes wide and murmured, "How is this possible? A person can actually refine a demon venerable spirit stone in one go. This is something that even my grandfather can't do." Chapter 738. Who? After absorbing the spiritual energy of the entire demon spirit stone, Lin Muyu couldn't help but sigh and spit out a mouthful of turbid air. If the turbid energy within the demon spirit stone was not spat out, it would be harmful to the human body, even if one was a god. At this moment, Lin Muyu only felt that the divine power within her body had never been filled before. The opportunity must not be missed. Now was the time. Lin Muyu had already seen through Si Kongyao's peeping, but in her heart, she thought that although this Tianji sect's eldest daughter was ruthless, she only dealt with evil people and had no enmity towards her, so she just let her watch. In any case, something like the spirit refining art couldn't be learned just by watching. So what if she learned it? In any case, she wouldn't be able to use it as well as she could. She circulated the supreme divine power within her sea of qi, and suddenly, layers upon layers of waves began to surge. The divine power within her sea of qi was like a heaven-reaching tower. There were a total of 21 layers. Under the master's guidance, the divine power flowed through her entire body and finally began to attack the profound entrances within her sea of qi. The first profound entrance was easily broken through, followed by the second, the third, all the way until the 22nd profound entrance. Lin Muyu already felt an extreme pain coming from her body, and her forehead was also dripping with sweat. Sure enough, after stepping into the god realm, wanting to advance every step was so difficult. It was no wonder that many people were stuck in the same realm for hundreds or even thousands of years. Boom, boom, boom. The waves in her sea of qi were tens of thousands of zhang high, and the divine waves that were infused with the spiritual energy of the demon spirit stone crazily attacked the 22nd profound entrance that sealed her sea of qi. That profound entrance was like a deep blue iron wall, and no matter how the divine waves attacked, it remained motionless. Lin Muyu couldn't help but frown, and once again increased her strength by 10%. She had to go all out, even if it hurt her body. She had to break through. Sure enough, with just this 10% increase in strength, a bang sound was heard, and the deep blue iron wall profound entrance in her sea of qi was finally broken. Endless waves of divine power flowed into her 4 meridians and 8 meridians. It was as comfortable as opening the conception and governor vessels in Wuxia novels. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The faint sound of waves even penetrated through her body, and Lin Muyu's power was not completely restrained at this time. Golden supreme divine power lingered around her body. Fortunately, she did not involuntarily release the law spirit beads, otherwise, Si Kongyao would definitely be able to see through it. Oh my god, Si Kongyao was also a cultivator. She couldn't help but ask in surprise, "Young hero, you've broken through?" Lin Muyu opened her eyes, nodded, and said, "Eldest miss, in my hometown, peeping at others practicing martial arts is a big taboo." Si Kongyao blinked her beautiful eyes, and just made an "oh" sound without saying anything. It seemed that her peeping here was so natural and justified that Lin Muyu couldn't refute anything. The depths of her body were filled with extravasated blood. This time, Lin Muyu had already suffered a small internal injury. She needed to adjust her breath for a period of time to recover, so she didn't try to break through to the 23rd layer of the heavenly abode. Even if she tried, it would probably be impossible to succeed. According to the speed at which the demon spirit stone was absorbing power, Lin Muyu could also roughly estimate that at least 3 to 5 venerable demon spirit stones would be needed to help her break through to the 23rd layer of the heavenly abode. Moreover, the spiritual power in her sea of qi was currently extremely abundant. There was no need to refine demon spirit stones at all. She had to wait for this feeling of fullness to disappear before she could continue to rely on absorbing power to cultivate. After all, cultivation was a matter of oneself. Blindly relying on external gains may eventually cause one to be unable to control the power in one's body. This kind of example could be seen everywhere in the ancient books on the continent. Si Kongyao seemed to also see that Lin Muyu had suffered an internal injury, and said, "You go and rest for a while, I'll keep watch for you tonight." "Eldest Miss Sikong will keep watch for us tonight?" Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. "Then Bai and I really have quite a lot of face. However, I still have to thank Eldest Mississippi. You go and sleep, there's no need to keep watch. It's very safe here." "It's hard to say." Si Kongyao shook her head, and said, "Demon spirits are good at concealing their aura and disguising themselves. Even sacred martial venerables and even sacred martial kings sometimes find it hard to detect demon spirits, so it's better to have someone keep watch." "All right then." Seeing that she was determined, Lin Muyu said, "Then you keep watch, I'll go and sleep for a while. I'll keep watch for the second half of the night." The night wind grew colder and colder. Si Kongyao turned around and landed on the branch of the pine tree that Lin Muyu had just been sitting on. She laid down lightly, and her clothes slowly fluttered in the wind. In the blink of an eye, her aura had already become invisible, as if her entire person had already become one with the pine tree. Lin Muyu couldn't help but frown as she sat in the tent. Si Kongyao's aura concealing ability was similar to Bai Yin's turtle breathing technique. Even her own spirit pulse technique would find it hard to detect her aura. This celestial pole continent was indeed full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. She really didn't know how many experts and absolute arts there were that she didn't know about. Furthermore, when Si Kongyao had fought with the assassin, the ice profound arts she had used weren't that tyrannical. Even the ice profound arts Si Kongyao had used could be so terrifying. If it was the legendary sacred martial god, Si Kong Ming, who personally used it, how many moves would she be able to block? 3 moves or maybe 5 moves? Perhaps 10 moves would already be her limit. Thinking of this, she suddenly felt that it was necessary to form a good relationship with this little girl, Si Kongyao. She was the apple of Si Kong Ming's eye. If Si Kongyao stood her ground against the opinions of the masses, perhaps Si Kong Ming and the entire Tianji sect would withdraw from the Tianji Empire's invasion of the Shattered Cauldron world. That would be the best result, although it would be very difficult. The injuries in her body were slowly being healed by the Supreme Divine Power. The Supreme Divine Power had a part of the attribute of Fushi's divine power, so there was no need to doubt its own healing ability. She unknowingly fell asleep. She didn't know how long she had slept for, but she was suddenly awakened by the whistling wind outside. Lin Muyu opened her eyes. No, it wasn't just the sound of the wind. There seemed to be a woman's delicate shout and the whistling sound of divine power in the wind. Something had happened outside. Lin Muyu hurriedly turned over and flew out with the star's sword. However, she saw Si Kongyao waving a thin sword not far away and fighting with a giant beast. No, that's not right. How is that a giant beast? It's clearly a 20-meter-tall giant covered in stone skin and covered in flames. With a roar, it fiercely smashed its iron fists onto Si Kongyao's sword. Young mistress, be careful. Lu Bai was already outside and shouted loudly. However, he didn't dare to go forward to help. Bang! The flames surged. The stone giant's huge iron fist blasted Si Kongyao and her sword away. She was embedded into the stone wall like a cannonball. The divine power shattered. This blow was enough to injure Si Kongyao. Oh no! How could Lin Muyu care so much? She raised her long sword and flew over. With a glance, she saw that the neck of the stone giant was intertwined with fiery red and green. It's a Demon King rank demon spirit. No wonder it could defeat Si Kongyao, who has a cultivation of 27 heavenly abode stage. Dragon armor! Lin Muyu shouted and began to summon Acatosaurus from the different space. She opened her arms, but after nearly half a minute, Acatosaurus finally crawled out from the different space. It disintegrated into dragon armor and attached itself to its master's body. Both of its hands held the sword and with a shout, the two martial souls disintegrated into the 7 luminaries' immortal sword. This is the most unusual thing about Lin Muyu. The people of the celestial pole continent only cultivate martial arts and not martial souls. At this moment, Lin Muyu looked like a different species. What is that? Si Kongyao didn't get up from the rubble. She just watched as Lin Muyu entered her strongest battle state. She didn't even know what the shining sword that Lin Muyu summoned was. Shwa! The sword light swept across the sky and left a trail of flames on the stone giant's shoulder. However, its stone skin was too hard and couldn't be cut through. This was a very awkward problem. Roar! The stone giant Demon King roared. Its fist turned into a phantom and flew over at lightning speed. Lin Muyu's figure retreated, and her boots abruptly stomped on a boulder. Using the momentum, she activated falling star steps and disappeared from her original spot in an instant. The stone mountain behind her was instantly flattened by the Demon King's heavy punch, and the entire mountain that was 20 meters tall rolled down like a landslide. Lu Bai was so frightened that he hugged his head and shouted, "God bless me, this young man greets you." Boom! The iron fist came again, but it still only hit an afterimage. This time, Lin Muyu used Shatter Void. Her whole body instantly appeared on top of the stone giant's head. She held the star's sword and descended from the sky. Like a phantom, she launched a series of slashes from the stone giant Demon King's head to its legs. Under the sword marks, Lin Muyu felt a chill in her heart. What a strong defense! This stone giant was simply invincible. Obviously, the destructive power of her level 22 Grotto Heaven was not enough to break through the stone skin that was as hard as iron. The divine power in her body had already been consumed by 1/3. She couldn't continue to attack like this. Shwa! The fist came again. Lin Muyu quickly retreated, but she was still hit by the wind from the fist. But she slammed heavily onto the stone mountain. She was in a sorry state. When she raised her head, she saw the stone giant roaring. It actually opened its mouth. Lin Muyu's eyes lit up. She jumped up from the ground like a star and threw the sword in her hand. With a pew sound, the sword flew into the stone giant's mouth. Under the control of the sword technique, the inside of the stone giant's throat was almost instantly crushed. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Lin Muyu raised her arm and a blazing sun condensed in her palm, Star's Art's purple sun. No! Among the rubble, Si Kongyao suddenly stood up and shouted, "Don't kill it! That's my dummy." But the wind was too loud, and the stone giant Demon King's roar was even louder. Lin Muyu couldn't hear it at all. She held the power of the purple sun and blasted it straight into the Demon King's mouth. The next moment, the purple sun exploded, and almost half of the stone giant's head was blown off. Boom! The huge body fell to the side of the valley, and the dust flew everywhere. Lin Muyu turned around and asked with concern, "Miss Sikong, what did you say just now? I didn't hear it. Are you okay?" Sikong Yao's tears flowed out of her eyes. She was angry and regretful, but it was too late. There was no medicine for regret in this world. Chapter 739. Dummy. Lin Muyu stood on the head of the stone giant Demon King's corpse and asked in confusion, "What happened? Miss, do you know this Demon King?" Sikong Yao walked to the side of the stone giant's corpse in 2 or 3 steps. She lay on its huge arm and started bawling. As she sobbed, she said, "Dummy was the most obedient. He did whatever I wanted him to do. I just wanted to test your strength. I didn't think that you would actually kill Dummy. Dummy was so kind, but you actually killed him." Lu Bai walked forward and whispered, "Young hero, you might not know this, but I've heard some rumors before. Some rich people would raise demon spirits, and the Tianji sect's main altar raised a stone giant demon spirit. It has already cultivated to the Demon King realm. It seems to be true, but when it comes to you, the legend has already ended." How would Lin Muyu know that this Demon King was raised? She felt a little guilty and said, "Miss Sikong, I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. I was just worried that it would hurt you, so I didn't hold back." Sikong Yao cried her eyes out and said, "I don't blame you. I only blame myself for acting smart and harming Dummy instead." "Then what do we do now?" Lin Muyu looked at the Demon King's head. The Demon Spirit Stone seemed to be calling out to her. Although this dummy was raised by the Sikong family, it would be too wasteful to ignore the Demon Spirit Stone. Sikong Yao wiped her tears and said, "I want to bury Dummy." "Bury?" Lin Muyu was stunned. "How are you going to bury a body that weighs over 100 tons? Even if you dig a hole, it shouldn't be so big." "I don't care. I want to bury it anyway." Sikong Yao cried and threw a tantrum. At this time, she finally looked like a young girl, willful and unreasonable. "All right, bury it then. How do you want to bury it?" Lin Muyu was in the wrong and naturally couldn't be too forceful. She could only accommodate her. Sikong Yao wiped her tears and said, "I'm going to cremate it." "Cremation?" Lin Muyu felt dizzy. Whether the body of this stone man could be burned was another matter. Even if it was burned, there would be residue left. How could she cremate it? Where was it buried? There were rocks everywhere in this valley, and there was only a little soil on the ground. There was no way to dig a hole. After saying that, Sikong Yao turned around and flew up, her long hair messy in the air. "Where are you going?" "I'm looking for firewood," Sikong Yao said quietly. The sadness on her face did not recede at all. It was true that Sikong Yao cultivated the ice mystic arts of the ice elemental precept. She did not have much attainment in the fire elemental precept. It was impossible for her to rely on the fire elemental precept to burn Dummy's corpse. "Then come back early. We'll stay here and guard Dummy's body," Lin Muyu said. "Yes." Sikong Yao nodded. A flash of lightning flashed in the air. She had already teleported away. "Now what should we do?" Lu Bai muttered to himself. His face was full of an unfathomable expression. "What else can we do?" Lin Muyu said lightly, "Do things according to our own rules." After saying that, he stretched out his hand and gently grabbed at the air. He directly absorbed Dummy's demon spirit stone into his hand and put it into his Jianghu bag. Then he looked at the body of the stone giant. The stone's skin seemed to be slowly cracking, forming pieces of benzene about 1 meter in diameter. Lin Muyu had seen how hard Dummy's stone skin was. Even the star's sword infused with his supreme divine power couldn't split it. It was imaginable how hard it was. It was probably even harder than a 10,000-year-old dragon armor. It was worthy of the Demon King's defense. His heart was moved. If this benzene piece was used as a shield, what else could pierce through it? When two armies confronted each other, whether it was spears, swords, arrows, or crossbows, they would probably be helpless against this kind of iron wall. He opened the Jianghu bag and swept around Dummy's body like a whirlwind. He put the stone skin armor into the bag one by one. He counted in his heart. When he finished picking up all of them, he got about 400 hard stone skin armor. He was in a very good mood. Lu Bai was stunned at the sight. He said, "Young hero, this dummy is Si Kongyao's pet. It's fine to kill him. But you still did this. Can you face your own conscience?" "If conscience can make a meal, I will definitely not let it down." Lin Muyu's voice was very calm. He smiled and said, "My conscience has always been towards my own people, not towards my enemies. Si Kongyao is destined not to be one of us." But Lu Bai was stunned. Lin Muyu patted his shoulder lightly and said, "Some things you will naturally understand in the future. Don't ask. The less you know, the better it is for you. It's best if you don't know anything." "Bai, take a step back. I want to burn Dummy's body." "Oh." Lu Bai quickly retreated. Lin Muyu flew up and stopped in midair. Looking at the huge corpse of Dummy, he couldn't help but frown. He opened his palms slightly, and suddenly, a fire elemental spirit pearl appeared between his palms. In the next moment, raging flames descended from the sky and began to devour Dummy's body. The sovereign persona had the ability to control all elemental laws. The intensity of the raging flames that Lin Muyu summoned was in no way inferior to the power of a fire elemental master god. In addition, after Dummy's death, his body had lost the protection of spiritual power. His defense was completely incomparable to when he was alive. In an instant, the fat and other substances in his body began to burn, and the flames soared into the sky. In just the time it took for a joss stick to burn, the 100-ton Demon King tier stone giant was reduced to ashes on the ground. Even its bones were burned by Lin Muyu. The whole valley was filled with an unpleasant smell. Lu Bai covered his nose and frowned. He didn't even have the mood to talk. Lin Muyu raised his sword and continued to take Dummy's demon spirit stones. She had to do something for it. The blade of the sword glowed with the light of stars, and with a pung-pung-pang sound, a large pit was blasted on the rocky ground. Then, she summoned the wind elemental spirit pearl, and a strong wind swept Dummy's ashes into the big pit. In the blink of an eye, the big pit was already a pile of ashes. At this time, the sun rose from the east, and the sky was bright. A huge black shadow flew in the sky. It was Si Kongyao. She was holding dozens of vines in her hands, and she was carrying a large bundle of firewood that didn't match her size at all. This shocked Lin Muyu and Lu Bai. Si Kongyao had brought dozens of tons of firewood. There was probably nothing in this world that Si Kongyao didn't dare to do. Originally, they thought that she was just being unreasonable, but now it seemed that she really meant what she said. She really wanted to cremate Dummy's body. Bang! The huge bundle of firewood fell in the valley. Si Kongyao stood in the wind blankly and asked, "Where's Dummy?" "I helped you cremate it." Lin Muyu pointed to the big pit at the side and said, "There's still a fingernail that hasn't been burned. Do you want to keep it as a memento?" "No need." Si Kongyao's eyes were full of confusion and said, "Where did you get the firewood to cremate Dummy?" "With just divine power, I'm afraid that even a sacred martial king's divine power wouldn't be enough to completely burn Dummy's huge body, right?" "This," Lin Muyu frowned and said, "his body is just very flammable. I used a little flame and it burned on its own." Si Kongyao squinted her beautiful eyes and stared at Lin Muyu for a few seconds, and said, "Forget it, I won't pursue it. Since you helped Dummy cremate, I thank you." "You're welcome, it's what I should do." Lu Bai rubbed his belly and said, "You guys don't have to be so polite. Let's go somewhere else to cook. I'm starving." Lin Muyu turned her head, but at this moment, a shrill cry came from the sky. It was very familiar. It was a wolf falcon. Again? Lu Bai frowned and said, "These dragon knights are really haunting us. Let's quickly hide in the cave. Maybe they won't find us." "It's no use. Since the wolf falcon found us, the dragon knights shouldn't be far away. However, before the dragon knights arrive, we still have time to eat breakfast. and breakfast came to us on its own. What do you mean? Si Kongyao frowned slightly. She couldn't hear what these two were saying at all. Just wait for your delicious meal, Miss Sikong. Lu Bai smiled obsequiously. A fist-sized rock flew out, and the wolf falcon in the air fell to the ground with a sad cry. Lin Muyu flew over and returned with the wolf falcon's corpse. She said, "Let's go out of the valley and start a fire. The dragon knights should be here in about an hour." But after leaving the valley, they found a small stream under the rocks. After plucking the wolf falcon's feathers and gutting it, they skillfully roasted it over the bonfire. They sprinkled cumin and oil over it, and before long, the aroma filled the air. Lin Muyu had been hungry for a long time, and she was full of anticipation as she waited to eat. Si Kongyao stood at the side with a look of amusement and helplessness. These two were really too daring. They even dared to eat the Tianji Dragon Knight's exclusive wolf falcon. There was nothing in this world that they didn't dare to eat. However, Si Kongyao stared at Lin Muyu's back and felt that this person was becoming more and more mysterious. It was understandable that he dared to eat the wolf falcon. Who knew how many secrets this guy was hiding? Not long after, the wolf falcon's meat was extremely fragrant and tempting. Lin Muyu took out the little demonic noise knife and cut a large piece of meat for Si Kongyao. Si Kongyao didn't refuse and nodded with a smile. She placed the piece of meat in her palm and held it with her Xian energy so that it didn't touch her palm directly. Then she ate it in small bites. It was indeed delicious. The wolf falcon's meat was very fresh and tender. It was simply better than all the other birds. Within the spirit pulse art, a total of 11 powerful auras were rapidly approaching. Lin Muyu naturally knew who they were, but since she couldn't hide, there was no point in hiding. She took the opportunity to eat and sleep before fighting. The demonic noise knife spun and cut off pieces of extremely tender meat from the wolf falcon's leg. She ate nearly 1 kilogram of meat in one go. She patted her stomach. Half full, it was time to act. Roar, roar, roar. Following the roar of the giant dragon, black figures pierced through the clouds and descended from the sky. Chapter 740. In the sky, 11 enormous figures formed an invisible pressure on the ground, making it hard for people to breathe. This time, a total of 11 dragon riders had come. One of them was a dragon rider general, a person with a penetrating scar on the left side of his face. It was most likely a scar that had been left behind after being shot by a sharp arrow. He looked to be around 40 years old, and his chin was covered in short stubble. His gaze was intimidating, and he wore a symbol of 4 golden stars and a red cloud on his chest. The symbol of 4 stars signified that he had already obtained the title of Sacred Martial King on the Celestial Pole continent, while the red cloud was the symbol of the Tianji Empire. Lei Wen, one of the 21 dragon riders of the Tianji Dragon Riders, was a Saint Martial King. His muddy fire blade had swept through many experts within the empire, making his name known throughout the world. Now, he had received an order from the headquarters of the Tianji Dragon Riders to lead 10 dragon riders to kill a sword-wielding ranger. Now, he had finally found him. However, when Lei Wen's gaze fell on the bonfire under the cliff, he couldn't help but tremble. He was furious. These 2 brats actually killed the wolf falcon. On the ground, Lin Muyu stepped on the early spring grass and walked forward step by step. She raised her head to look at the dragon riders in the sky and said, "You guys have come again and again. Are you done yet? You're the one who defeated Hu Yin?" Lei Wen's voice was filled with dignity. "That's right, it's me. You killed the wolf falcon as well?" "That's right. You have a good appetite." Lei Wen's gaze turned cold, and he became especially ferocious. "Do you know how to write the word death? Only death awaits those who challenge the Tianji Dragon Riders. I don't care who you are. Today, this will be your burial ground." "Is that so?" Lin Muyu raised her head to look at him. She didn't fear death, and her aura didn't lose out at all. Aura was a part of the domain. At this moment, Lei Wen was secretly shocked. Just who was this young man to be able to compete with his aura when he was riding a dragon? At this moment, a beautiful girl walked out from the forest. It was Si Kongyao. She had a faint smile on her face and said, "Uncle Leiwen, long time no see." Leiwen was stunned. "Young Miss Sikong, why are you here?" Si Kongyao smiled. "I came out with 2 friends to travel around the world." "These 2 are your friends?" "How is that possible?" Lei Wen's eyes were filled with disdain towards Lin Muyu and Lu Bai. His face was filled with a look that said, "Who is Miss Si Kongyao, and why would she hang out with these 2 lowly people?" "Miss Si Kong, these 2 have injured Hu Yin and Li Ku, the 2 dragon riders. They are openly provoking the Tianji dragon riders, which is equivalent to provoking the Tianji Empire. Even if they are friends of Miss Si Kong, this humble one, Lei Wen, cannot be biased." "Really?" Si Kongyao narrowed her eyes. "What if they are from the Tianji sect? Was Uncle Raven going to do something to them? If Uncle Raven did something to the Tianji sect and Grandpa found out about it, would he punish you?" Lei Wen's face flashed with a trace of horror. Si Kong Ming, these 3 words were the supreme existence in the hearts of the Empire's warriors. Even the Imperial Marshal, one of the 5 divine martial gods, Bai Minghuan, was respectful to Si Kong Ming, not to mention a mere dragon rider like him. However, if he were to admit defeat like this, he would probably become a laughing stock. Not to mention that Lei Wen was leading 10 dragon riders to carry out a mission from the headquarters. If he returned without any results, he would not be able to explain it to his superiors. The muddy fire saber in his hand began to hum, as if it was already anticipating a battle. Lei Wen said with a fake smile, "I have to give face to Miss Sikong. Since these 2 people are from the Tianji sect, wait." Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows. "I am just an idle person, not from the Tianji sect." Lei Wen smiled. "Then it's even easier." Si Kongyao stomped her feet in anger and stared at Lin Muyu. You want to anger me to death? Are you a pig?" Lin Muyu naturally knew what Si Kongyao was thinking. She wanted to pull her into the Tianji sect, but this was absolutely impossible. Once she joined the Tianji sect, she would not be able to control herself. She, the Qin king of the Shattered Cauldron world, would not know how to stand in the Qin Empire in the future. Lei Wen raised his blade and shouted, "Spread out! Surround this place! Don't let anyone escape! Today, I want the corpses of these 2 brats to lie on the ground. How dare they challenge the dignity of the Tianji dragon riders? You 2 must have eaten the guts of a leopard." "Wait!" Si Kongyao cried out and stood in front of Lin Muyu. "Uncle Lei Wen, these 2 have yet to join the Celestial Mystical Sect. Now that I've promised them that they will become the Celestial Mystical Sect's distinguished guests, even if they're not from the sect, I won't allow anyone to bully them. Uncle Lei Wen, are you not going to give face to the Celestial Mystical Sect?" "Honored guests." Lei Wen was stunned. "I remember that the Tianji sect's honored guest last time was General Zhang Cheng, one of the 5 martial saint gods of the Empire. Why did they invite these 2 honored guests this time? Anyway, they are honored guests of the Tianji sect. Touching them is equivalent to becoming an enemy of the Tianji sect." Si Kongyao quickly made her position clear. Lei Wen smiled. "Miss Si Kongyao, although the Tianji sect is respected in the Empire, we, the Tianji dragon riders, carry out His Majesty's orders. I respect the Tianji sect and Lord Sikong Ming, but please respect the Tianji dragon riders as well. Don't make it difficult for me. How can these 2 clowns be honored guests of the Tianji sect?" "Don't deceive yourself, Mississippi." Si Kongyao was anxious. She stamped her feet and said, "What do I have to do for you to let them go?" Lei Wen's arms emitted traces of fire rule divine power and entered the muddy fire saber. In an instant, the saber was burning red, illuminating his ferocious face. He smiled and said, "I can admit that they are VIPs, but they have to pass through my muddy fire saber. Otherwise, how can they be worthy of being VIPs of the Tianji sect?" Si Kongyao was silent. Lin Muyu's body was surrounded by an invisible whirlwind. She rose into the air and stood at the same height as Lei Wen. She looked at him and said, "Then, what do I have to do to pass your muddy fire blade? As long as you can survive 20 moves from my muddy fire blade, Lei Wen will let you go. How about it? Lei Wen's eyes were filled with arrogance. He didn't even put Lin Muyu in his eyes. He was going to say 10 moves, but this brat won against Hu Yin. Even if it was a trick, he must have some ability. So he said 20 moves. Lin Muyu was also angry. After talking so much nonsense, she had already recovered 90% of her divine power. This Lei Wen's aura was completely exposed. He didn't hide it at all. Under the detection of the spiritual pulse technique, he was at the 34th grotto heaven level. If he was only at the 34th grotto heaven level, he would have a great chance. Plus, Lei Wen was so arrogant. It was time to suppress him. Alright, 20 moves. Come. The flames of the muddy fire blade soared. The dragon Lei Wen was riding on also let out a roar. Its whole body was covered in flames. It was a fire dragon with extraordinary power. Lin Muyu secretly thought to herself. When fighting Lei Wen, she still had to be careful of the fire dragon's bite and dragon's flame. Otherwise, if she was careless, she would suffer. No matter what, Lei Wen was a dragon rider. She couldn't underestimate him. Lei Wen's blade was raised horizontally. A flame formed into a dragon and circled around the hilt. It was actually Dragon Qi. This was a dragon rider who could control Dragon Qi. Lin Muyu was secretly startled. She slowly unsheathed her stellar sword. Streaks of frost and stars lingered around the blade. Since Lei Wen was using the law of fire, then she would use the law of ice, which was relatively more restrained. If you lose, I want your head to report to His Majesty. Lei Wen said indifferently. No one would doubt the truth of his words. And if you lose? Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows. What are you going to give me? If I lose? Lei Wen laughed out loud. What a joke. You think I will lose to you? Lei Wen frowned. If I lose, Lei Wen, will give my life to you. Why would I want your life? If you lose, I want this fire dragon of yours. What? Lei Wen was startled. You want my Qi Yan? So this dragon's name was Qi Yan. Lin Muyu nodded and smiled. What? You don't dare to bet? Let's bet. You're just courting death. With a furious roar, Luin rode his dragon and charged forward. With a slight tremble of his long blade, the air seemed to be engulfed by raging flames. In an instant he slashed out nearly 10 flaming blade lights. The power interweaved together, as if wanting to vaporize everything in the world. As expected of a dragon rider. With just a single move, it could be seen that he was much more skilled than Hu Yin, Li Ku and the other dragon riders. However, Lin Muyu was even faster. Without a dragon mount, he was able to deal with it easily. His body was like a fish in the sea as he weaved through the blade auras. In an instant, he was in front of Lei Wen. He raised his hand and slashed down. First star light. Courting death. Lei Wen swept his blade horizontally. Ding. The star sword and the muddy fire blade clashed. It was obvious that the muddy fire blade was also a saint weapon, and its soul refining power was not much inferior to the star sword. A total of 34 heavenly caves swept over. Lin Muyu could not help but be shocked to the point that he was rooted to the ground. Below him, the flames surged. It was the fire dragon turning its head to bite and devour. Pooh! The air seemed to suddenly explode. Lin Muyu's movement speed was extremely fast, and he retreated dozens of meters in an instant. He did not plan to take a defensive stance at all. Facing a powerful dragon rider, he chose to attack. That's right, attack is the best defense. That was what everyone said. Clang, clang, clang. Sparks continuously flew in the air. In just a few seconds, Lin Muyu slashed out 7 or 8 times. Every slash was filled with supreme divine power, and his body was surrounded by the energy of the jade snow ice. The more Lei Wen fought, the colder he became. His body and arms were covered in a layer of frost. This brat was like an ice man from purgatory. The surroundings were extremely cold, and this kind of ice law divine power was the power that Lei Wen hated the most. His movements gradually became slower and slower. Lei Wen's temperament also became irritable, and he no longer had any method to fight. Chapter 741. Pang! Lin Muyu's fist, which was filled with frost, landed heavily on the blazing palm that Lei Wen had hurriedly thrown out. The surrounding time and space seemed to have frozen in that instant. Hexagonal ice crystals appeared in a spherical force field, randomly splashing and shooting in all directions. In a duel between two deities, bystanders were no longer able to enter the force field created by their battle. Lei Wen remained silent, but the flames on the muddy fire blade became more and more vigorous. In an instant, the blade's light increased explosively, and the domain also increased greatly. Under the pressure of the power, illusions were actually formed, and countless long blades in the sky slashed towards Lin Muyu, seeming to be invulnerable. Wang Wang. Golden light suddenly appeared, and a perfect round bottle-gourd wall surrounded Lin Muyu. In the violent vibrations, the bottle-gourd wall could not withstand Lei Wen's 34 layers of waves, and suddenly shattered. But in the instant that it shattered, a beam of light flew out. In Lin Muyu's hand was an astral chain, and she charged towards Lei Wen. Leaping into the air, the astral chain swept out with a shwa-shwa sound. Child's play. Lei Wen could not help but let out an explosive roar. The muddy fire blade was swung backwards, and when it slashed out, an earth-shattering wave of flames swept out, actually blowing away the power of the astral chain. What a good dragon knight. Indeed, he was much stronger than ordinary dragon knights. Just in terms of cultivation alone, he was already firmly above Lin Muyu. Unfortunately, Lei Wen still did not understand Lin Muyu. In the instant that the astral chain shattered, Lin Muyu's figure flashed above Lei Wen's head, and her battle boots, which contained boundless divine power, heavily kicked towards Lei Wen's shoulder. Scoundrel! Lei Wen hurriedly raised his left fist and punched towards Lin Muyu's calf, forcing her to retreat. But the retreating Lin Muyu's figure miraculously flipped, and like a swimming dragon, she appeared under Lei Wen's armpit. A small demonic noise blade in her left hand spun, and like a high-speed fan blade, it landed under Lei Wen's armpit. Poochie! Finally, blood was seen. Lei Wen's divine power spirit wall was unable to block the sharp aura of the little magic noise blade, and his armpit was sliced open by about 3 centimeters, which was not considered a heavy injury for Bing. Lin Muyu immediately retreated after her attack. She raised her stellar sword and slashed downwards. It was chaos of the common life. Lei Wen had already seen chaos of all lives in the previous few moves, so he naturally knew that this move wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Thus, he raised the hilt of his blade with both hands to block. Clang! A golden shockwave of divine power swept out, and something that Lei Wen had never expected happened. Lin Muyu's attack seemed to be much heavier and more ferocious than before. His right hand actually could not hold the hilt of the saber steadily, and the muddy fire saber almost flew out of his hand. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu's sword slashed diagonally at his shoulder, directly cutting into his armor. Fresh blood spurted out. Lin Muyu's body was in the air. As long as he used a bit of strength in his arms, it would be enough to cut off Lei Wen's right arm. However, he did not do so. Killing a dragon rider like Lei Wen here was completely meaningless, and it would also create a powerful enemy for himself. It was also at this moment that Lei Wen fiercely tugged on the dragon's reins. The fire dragon immediately began to flip, forcibly swinging Lin Muyu's body away. On the ground, Si Kongyao actually clapped her hands and laughed. Uncle Lei Wen, you have already lost. That's right, Lei Wen was already injured. Just now, when Lin Muyu stopped moving, it was because he was being lenient. Even an idiot could see that. Lu Bai's eyes had already turned white. It can't be. Who exactly is this brat, to actually be able to defeat the genuine Saint Martial King? Shwa shwa shwa. The flames were still dense in the surroundings. Lei Wen looked at Lin Muyu with a pale expression and said, What did you do to make my arm lose its divine power? It's very simple. Lin Muyu stood in the air and said, The human body has a meridian under the armpit called the sun and moon, which connects the chi-si and the arm. I just used a knife to cut off your sun and moon meridian, so that the wave divine power in your chi-si can't flow into your arm, so you can't block a mere blow of mine. Lord Lei Wen, do we still want to continue fighting? Sun and moon? Lei Wen did not know this. He frowned and said, "No need to fight, I admit defeat, but this fire dragon is a companion found in the dragon nest 3,000 years ago. It is impossible to give it to you. If you want something else, as long as I, Lei Wen, have it, and I am willing to admit defeat, I will definitely give it to you." Not giving me a fire dragon? Lin Muyu narrowed his eyes. He had originally planned to get a dragon from the celestial pole continent to study so that he could better understand his enemy. However, on second thought, it would be too ostentatious to bring a giant dragon around. He still had to go to the other two empires to take a look. Fine, he might as well give up on this fire dragon. Thus, he said straightforwardly, "Sure, but this fire dragon should be quite valuable, right? Then I want enough precious demon spirit stones." Demon spirit stones? Lei Wen frowned and said, "Demon spirit stones are one of the most precious things in the celestial pole continent, and demon spirit stones can only be found by chance, not sought. From the breeding of a fire dragon to adulthood, the cost is about 3 million gold coins. How about this? I will give you 3 million gold coins in gold notes. Is that okay?" "No." Lin Muyu shook his head and stubbornly said, "Either bring the fire dragon to me, or give me enough demon spirit stones. Otherwise, in front of so many subordinates, are you still unwilling to admit defeat?" In fact, he was very clear in his heart that demon spirit stones were a cultivator's most precious treasure. As long as one had enough demon spirit stones and enough talent, one could train a genius to step into the god realm in a few short years, or even become a Saint Martial King or Saint Martial Venerable on this continent. Therefore, demon spirit stones were definitely not a common commodity. As a foreigner, even if he had money on this continent, there was no way for him to get demon spirit stones. At this time, it would be too much of a pity if he didn't ruthlessly extort Lei Wen. Lei Wen's face alternated between green and red. As a dragon rider, it was already shameful enough for him to lose to a nameless brat. If he didn't keep his word on the bet, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to mingle in the dragon rider regiment anymore. Therefore, he frowned and said, "The Empire's laws have long stated that no one can privately buy or sell demon spirit stones. As a member of the Tianji Dragon Regiment, I naturally can't knowingly break the law." "Is that so?" Lin Muyu pondered and didn't say anything. At this time, the corner of Si Kongyao's mouth rose, and her smile was exceptionally sweet. "Uncle Lei Wen, I heard that every dragon rider has a quota of demon spirit stones that they can collect from the national treasury every quarter to use for their own cultivation. Also, a dragon rider only needs to take out less than half of the black market's money to buy a lot of demon spirit stones from the national treasury. Did I remember wrongly? There shouldn't be, Miss?" Lei Wen was so angry that his teeth itched. He originally wanted to lie to Lin Muyu, this hothead, but Si Kongyao actually sold him out. "If that's the case, then there's no problem." Lin Muyu said, "How about this? We go to the next city together, and wait for Lord Lei Wen to fulfill his promise and give me the 204th class demon spirit stones. It won't be too late for us to part ways then." "Who said 204th class demon spirit stones?" Lei Wen spat out his saliva, and the blue veins on his face protruded. "Do you know the value of the 4th class demon spirit stones?" "I know the value of a fire dragon even more," Lin Muyu said. Si Kongyao couldn't help but stick out her tongue, and said with a smile, "Young hero, you're asking for a bit too much. Some provincial treasury doesn't even have a total of 204th class demon spirit stones. In my opinion, the value of a fire dragon should be equivalent to 105th class demon spirit stones. That should be it, at least in Tianji City." Her elbow had already turned completely outward. "Let's go with 205th class demon spirit stones." Lin Muyu looked up at Lei Wen on the dragon's back, and said, "Lord Lei Wen, what do you think?" Lei Wen's face turned livid. 205th class demon spirit stones? I'm afraid I can't afford that much even with my 50 years of salary. You're making things difficult for me." "So, Uncle Lei Wen, it's not right for you to say you're poor." Si Kongyao squinted her beautiful eyes and smiled. "If I remember correctly, 3 years ago, when you went to Eastcom City to subdue a demon venerable level demon spirit for Marquis Egret, you received more than 1 million gold coins from him. Moreover, the Tianji Dragon Riders sometimes complete some missions in private. I'm afraid you guys also reaped a lot of benefits, right? Lei Wen's face was full of embarrassment, and the group of dragon riders behind him were also a little mischievous. After all, even if they stepped into the divine realm, they still needed to live. Since they entered the world to cultivate, how could they not be stained by the mundane world? Which dragon rider didn't have a mansion in the imperial capital? Therefore, Si Kongyao's words were also a secret that couldn't be said, and everyone had a tacit understanding. As members of the Tianji Dragon Riders, we have long sworn to dedicate our lives and everything to the Empire. Those are all gifts from the Empire to us, Lei Wen said solemnly. Good, gifts. Lin Muyu secretly felt that it was funny. Since it's a gift, then give me some of it. 200 Tier 5 Demon Spirit Stones, deal. No, it's too much. I really can't take out that much at the moment. Lei Wen frowned. It seemed that this was indeed beyond what he could bear. Then how much can you take out? 50 Tier 6 Demon Spirit Stones. Looks like I need to go to the Imperial Capital and announce that the Tianji Dragon Rider Lei, one of the Tianji Dragon Riders, lost to a ranger, Lin Muyu said slowly with her arms crossed. Lei Wen couldn't help but wail. Originally, he could order 10 Dragon Riders to attack together, and they would definitely be able to kill both Lin Muyu and Lu Bai. However, Si Kongyao was present, so he couldn't do it. After all, no one in the entire Tianji Empire was willing to offend a top expert like Si Kongming. Alright, 100 Tier 5 Demon Spirit Stones, how about it? It's a deal. We'll head north from here, and when we reach the 9 Dragon City in the south of the Tianji province, I'll go to the treasury and buy some Demon Spirit Stones for you, how about that? Thank you, Lord Lei Wen. Lin Muyu said respectfully. At this moment, Lei Wen didn't seem like an opponent, but more like a god of wealth. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.